hello. Hit the like, everybody. Share the show. Give me 1 second. We'll be up on Substack. Hey, there we go. Look at the hearts flying on Substack. Thanks, guys. Whee! Hi, Alan. What's going on? Welcome. All right. Almost there. Almost there. Whee! All right. Let's get started. Here we go. Let's jump straight in. Hi, welcome to the show, everybody. It's Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, etc., etc., etc. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks. Next Friday, a week from this Friday, we've got a new stand-up show for you that I'm going to be performing. It's me by myself. It's a rhetorical art, I will say. And at Flappers, all our Patreon people and our get a free comedy show every month on top of the joy of supporting the show and making it exist. Very exciting. So, lots to talk about today, including, and I would argue especially, the inevitable clash of MAGA that I called, I don't know how many months ago when I first started, you could arguably trace this back, you could trace this back to when Trump started making certain promises on the campaign trail. And
man, I'm tired of being right.
Exactly. I am so used to being right. I think I'm 99.5 now, 99.5% right. I think that's pretty, believe me, I'm getting straight A's in this course. And only a couple of times I've been off, and both of those times, there's a recount on the last time I was off, so take that with a grain of salt as well. I may have been right after all. One of my niece down south just lost her son. Oh my God, Alex. Sorry, 1 second. That scrolled by too fast for me to see it. Just lost her son, Alex. Motorcycle accident. Any relation? No, no direct relation. But I'm sorry to hear that. And not just because I think all of the major serial killers either have a Sparks in their victim list or another relative of mine. It's Bundy, Gacy, not Dahmer, because he didn't really. His were shocking, but not high in volume. Any of the ones with high volume, obviously, we joined in with the crowd, I guess. Yes, I was wrong about the presidential election, or maybe I wasn't. That's the point. There's a very strong chance that I wasn't, actually, and that there was a bunch of Elon Musk shenanigans going on, but we won't figure that out, and we won't be able to find that out until maggots turn on Trump and don't show up next time, and we get some Democrats in the House and in the Senate, and all the people who stayed home and allowed the vote to be within the margin, either turn up and vote or shut the fuck up. And that's why I am being very direct these days. That this show is not about a social movement or a crowd-pleasing, the architecture of friendships. It is about electing Democrats. Even the ones that don't go far enough for me, it's about electing those two. Because that's the only way we're going to fix what's broken, establish change, and maintain that change. Sorry. Until we have 60-40 in the Senate and 60% of the House, nobody has a fucking thing to say about a single Democrat that is elected to office. Not a thing. Other than that, I have no opinion. Now, meanwhile, Trump is enjoying the power of the purity test right now. And if you want to see a movement that apparently gave Trump the last election and put this idiot in office in the first time, this massive, great movement of politics, you want to see it collapse in on itself. You know what's actually doing it? You know what's actually destroying this party? A purity test of their own making. Do you want to see how bad of a strategy this is? That's what we're seeing play out, and especially in this business. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Turd Cruz, a.k.a. Bullverine, a.k.a. Texas's idea of masculinity. I don't know how that happened. Talking to Tucker Carlson, another, like a trust fund baby who views himself as some sort of working class hero, like he could ever understand. How do you think David Hogg should step down? No, I don't think so. I think he should come to his senses and contribute. He doesn't have to go. He can learn on the job. Nothing wrong with that. He's a good person. I would argue that he wants to do the right thing. There's nothing wrong with that, right? But spending $20 million chasing down Democrats that are already in office is fucking stupid. It is stupid. It is. What's the phrase I'm looking for? Hold on. I think I have it right here. It's
Dum 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 stupid dumb silly stupid dum dum.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's to quote Jim Carrey, it would be counterproductive. So yeah, it's silly. Now I have gone into this this thing with him, and let me show you something. So on Tucker Carlson's show, he has little chapter markers. And you see this where you scroll along the bottom? Boy, I wish we had those nice little chapter markers on my show after the fact. Do we? I don't think so. It's complicated. Anyways, I clicked the thing a long time ago that was supposed to give me automatic chapter markers, but I don't think it can make sense of where I am or what I'm talking about. Anyways, you'll see, like, to what extent is the U.S. government influenced by foreign governments? This is a big chunk right here. Then, is the Israel of the Bible the same as the current Israeli government? Like, I don't know what, this is Tucker's idea of what their conversation was about. How does funding Israel benefit the U.S.? Okay, so these would be, you could argue, questions he may have asked or topics they covered, but it's not necessarily adversarial. Watch what happens when we get down here. Right after, are there Iranian assassins trying to kill Trump? When he gets to this point, it says, Cruz knows nothing about Iran and wants to destroy it anyways. The next one, Cruz refuses to apologize for supporting the disastrous Ukraine-Russia war. Then, why does Cruz think Zelensky is a hero? Is Russia an enemy of the U.S.? Big long one. Is America the moral authority? Right. This is you could track. This is, and again, I don't want anybody to get confused and think that Tucker Carlson's actually a peacenik or is actually believing anything that he's selling. The dude has got fish hooks in his nutsack and the fishing line goes all the way to Russia. And anytime he gets off the res or doesn't say what they want, he gives them a yank. That's how it works. Okay, he doesn't give a shit about these issues. It's easy to fall into that, but that is not what is happening. Okay, so let's jump in to we're an hour and a half into this conversation where they were supposed to be done. They were supposed to end at 1:30. So he starts wrapping it up somewhere around what really is an isolationist, and then it starts to cadaver very quickly. So here you go.
Fallen. I would use economic sanctions and I would use moral suasion to try to effectuate
if you
regime
topple,
change.
okay, so you topple the regime and by whatever means, what happens then? How many people live in Iran, by the way?
I don't know the population.
At all?
No, I don't know the population.
You don't know the population of the country you seek to topple?
How many people live in Iran?
92 million.
Okay. Yeah,
How could you not know that?
I don't sit around memorizing population tables.
Well, it's kind of relevant because you're calling for the overthrow of the government.
Why is it relevant whether
because
it's 90 million or 80 million or 100 million? Why is that
because if
relevant?
you don't know anything about the country...
I didn't say I don't know anything about
Okay, what's the ethnic mix of Iran?
They are Persians and
What percent?
predominantly Shia. Okay, this is cute.
It's not
Okay.
even... You don't know anything about Iran. So
Okay,
actually,
I
the
am
country...
By the way, neither does Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is picking apart the ethnic makeup of the country and the numbers as if that matters to the decision, right? I mean, the same argument would be like, what's the landmass of Israel versus the landmass of Iraq? Well, I don't know the mileage or whatever, but one is smaller than the other significantly, right? Yes, I am liking this, by the way. And also, again, the details of this aren't important. This is an attack point by Tucker Carlson against Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz thinks he's asking a specific question. Tucker Carlson doesn't have the brain pan to ask a specific question. He's got the facts written on the sheet in front of him. So he's not even, the reality would be ask a ballpark question. He thinks he's answering that way. They're just being assholes. This is fun.
The Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who
don't know anything about the country.
No, you don't know anything about the country. You're the one who claims they're not trying to murder Donald Trump. You're the
I'm
one
not saying that.
who can't figure out
I'm
if it was a good idea to kill General Soleimani, and you said it was bad.
This is adorable. Again, ladies and gentlemen, chat room, can we just enjoy this for 1 second? Let's step back for a moment. We'll continue to watch, but this goes. I should start a file that is just like stuff the maggots never thought they would be arguing about 6 months ago. If I wish I had a time machine and clips of this so that I could go back in the past, like, hey, we built a time machine, but it only works for less than 8 months. I have the perfect use for it. All I'm going to do. You can only go into the past 8 months, and then you can come back. Oh, this is going to be great, or whatever. Can I have one of those, since you made up this magical time machine, can I also have one of those Men in Black flashy things so that they forget what I showed them? Why? Well, so they don't change anything. Oh, that's important. Yeah, good point. So you can go back and tell them what the future is just to see what their reaction is, and then flashy face them and then disappear again, and they'll just continue on their way. Yeah, that's exactly it. So I get in the time machine with clips of this, like sit down, go find Ted Cruz and go, hey, this is you in 6 months talking to Tucker Carlson. Holy shit. Where are you going with that iPad? None of your business. Do the same thing to Tucker. It's so good. So good. All right, here we go.
Trying to murder Trump?
Yes, I do.
Because you're not calling for military strikes against them in retaliation. And if you really believe that...
We are carrying out military strikes today.
You said Israel was.
Right, with our help. I said we. Israel is leading them, but we're supporting them.
Well, you're breaking news here because the U.S. government last night denied, the National Security Council spokesman Alex Pfeiffer denied on behalf of Trump that we were acting on Israel's behalf in any offensive capacity.
No, we're not bombing them, Israel.
He said offensive capacity. No contradiction. Look at me arguing the points again. So stupid.
Bombing them.
You just said we were.
We are supporting
Israel.
Israel.
High stakes. You're a senator. If you're saying the United States government is at war with Iran right now, people...
If it was really high stakes, he wouldn't be on a show like yours. Things are very dangerous in the world, and people need the facts. Quick, let me rush over and do Tucker Carlson's network.
People are listening.
Okay, we are not bombing them.
Oh, okay.
Israel is bombing them. And hey, why do you do the snide, oh, okay?
What do you mean? Because this is super high stakes stuff. This is a huge country that borders a lot of other...
How they didn't pray Tucker and Wolverine. Yeah, I'm not talking about the specifics of these guys. I'm telling you, one represents one maggot train. The other represents the other maggot train. They both left the station from different sides at the same time, and their tracks converge. And this is them hitting.
Important countries all over the world. Energy comes from there.
So let me ask you,
don't want another...
Energy comes from there? You're right. That is why we should have renewables. Hey, look at that. They're all coming to it. They're realizing, hey, if we never needed oil again, we wouldn't have to deal with any of this shit. If we would just shift to solar and renewables, maybe even our own micronuclear, perhaps thorium, because you can't actually convert that into weaponizable fissional material, maybe that's what we do. I'm kidding. They just think oil.
Disaster. You don't want to be
Tucker,
reckless.
the Ayatollah refers to Israel as the little Satan and America as the great
know.
Satan. Do you believe him when he says it's the great Satan?
course
Do
I
you
believe-
think?
of course I
Do you
believe
think if the
him.
Fuck you. We're the awesome Satan. Great Satan.
Ayatollah could murder both of us right now, that he would? I do.
Well, no. You know, Tucker was quiet. Of course not. I'm friends with Putin. He wouldn't. They would say, don't kill Tucker. He's on the team.
I believe him.
Okay, I assume no good faith on the part of the Ayatollah.
No, not
and if
good
your
faith.
implication
No,
is like,
it's not
I'm
good faith.
pro-Ayatollah or something.
No, it's not good faith. It's that...
Just saying, you're a lawmaker. You're a powerful person in Washington.
By the way, does Tucker Carlson think that that laugh is somehow disarming? For real? Does he think that? Does he think that's like people like when I do that, people are like, oh, it's adorable. Sorry, we're back to one.
This is the most powerful country in the world. If you're calling for toppling in government, it's incumbent on you to know something about the country and to think through the consequences of that. And you haven't, and you don't. And I'm saying that's
I haven't
reckless.
thought... Okay, you engage in reckless rhetoric with no facts. And to
Damn.
be clear,
I'm not calling for the
you put out
overthrow of a
newsletter-
government.
You
are.
put out a newsletter attacking Donald Trump and calling him complicit.
never
I can
attacked
read you.
Donald Trump.
Yes, you have. And by
I
the way,
campaigned for Donald Trump.
Okay, yes,
And this is
and-
like
and-
after anti
Cut to Hal roasting marshmallows on this fire.
Semitism, this is the last refuge. You're an anti-Semite and you hate Trump.
okay,
I love Trump.
I will read. You put out a whole newsletter saying Trump.
Oh, somebody brought props. Oh, this is so good. Oh. You go, girl. Yes, queen.
Abandoned America first. And here's what Trump said in response. Well, considering that I'm the one that developed America first, and considering that the term wasn't used until I came along, I think I'm the one who decides that.
It wasn't. It was used by the American Nazi Party to try and get us to not go into the World War II and save the Jews, which, by the way, Tucker would have agreed with.
For those people who say they want peace, you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. So for all of those wonderful people who don't want to do anything about Iran having a nuclear weapon, that's not peace. That was
Man.
directed at you.
Man, you got me. Busted.
No, I'm just saying.
Look, my views. Look, I like.
I've been to Russia. I saw 4 parties, 2 really nice hotel rooms, and an underground subway station with a chandelier in it. They have no problems. I come back to America. Have you seen all the black people in this country? We've got to fix this. Trust fund kid. Just saying.
Trump. I campaigned for Trump. I know Trump. I talked to him last night. I'm not against Trump, and you know that.
But you're against his foreign policy.
I think that we should be very careful about entering into more foreign wars that don't help us when our country is dying.
When you say
And our
don't
country
help
is
us,
dying.
Our country is dying of blackness. There is black peoples and Mexicans that are like using their grubby hands and touching my food.
Look, yes, focus on our country. I'm all for it. But the naivete.
You don't even know how much money this costs. You don't know anything about the country whose government you want to overthrow, and you're calling me reckless.
I want to stop a lunatic who wants to murder.
Apparently the laugh is not working on Ted Cruz. Oh, what an asshole.
Us from getting nuclear weapons
Fair.
that could kill millions of Americans.
Fair.
You
Well, you can't say fair unless you're willing to do something about it, stupid. Fair. You want to do this? Fair. Just don't.
say, I can't see how that benefits America in any way. That is bizarre. And by the way,
bizarre.
Isolationism.
It's not bizarre. His laugh is bizarre. Everything else about it is exactly trackable to his controllers in Russia. Yours are exactly trackable to I don't know, you and Lindsey Graham in a weekend in St. Martin. Happy Pride, everybody. For real.
Let's party like we're moving Buns and dongs and vests and thongs. Woo, I love that feeling. Zipper hoods have got the goods. Oh, oh. Buns and dongs and vests and thongs. Woo, I love that feeling. Zipper hoods have
Can't
got
we-
the goods. Oh.
Can we all get along? Yes, we can. And I think one of the things we can find is that I think in a both sides arguments in the world of argument in the world of MAGA, there's it's understandable that you think like, oh, both sides have something to get angry about. I think that's probably true, but that's kind of low res thinking. You got to think that both sides have something to laugh a lot about. Butt stuff. All right.
Your foreign policy is the foreign policy of Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, damn. Ouch. I did cut stuff. I left before butt stuff. I'm sorry.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm a big leftist.
Please don't cut that out of context. I would never.
This is so silly. I'm Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama. Okay.
Well, as far as I know, neither one of them have herpes simplex 10. Sorry.
Let me just say one last thing.
So how is your foreign policy different from Jimmy Carter's?
Is this based on a deep, abiding Christianity, and Tucker Carlson's nuts are in the hands of the Kremlin, and they squeeze him whenever he doesn't obey? I think maybe that.
Seriously.
Yeah, and by the way, while we're at it, prove to everybody you don't know the lyrics to a bunch of Lynyrd Skynyrd songs or Allman Brothers.
Please.
But
Please, I'm not even going to glorify that with an answer.
I asked that question seriously.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
And yet you advocate for what you're advocating for the same priorities as Jimmy Carter and Barack Obama.
Jimmy Carter?
Yes, he was a really, really wonderful man. Passed away recently. A great parent, and a great father and a great husband, and was a terrific president. And really, honestly, was pilloried for years and was nowhere near the bad president that he was stacked up to be. Basically, he was the first post-Nixon PR attack of the Republican machine. And by the way, don't worry, you're nothing like him. He was a good person.
So
What century is this? I am
I'm sorry. You want to let Iran have a nuke and you don't even know what century it is? Sorry, this is so stupid.
product of the last 25 years, watching carefully, being involved in the periphery, and I see
Oh. I mean, that's some bona fides. Being involved in the periphery.
an unending string of foreign policy disasters that have impoverished and hurt our country.
unending string. So,
Unending string. They would include Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and our inability to stop the Houthis, by the way, in Yemen, which exposes us as weak. And I
Inability to stop the Houthis. I'm sorry, you think we should have gone further? That's new.
grieve over that. So these are
Yes, that's true. Al, Jimmy Carter was a great grandfather, too. He was a great great-grandfather, I think, as well.
failures. You helped preside over some of them.
Let's just settle this. Jimmy Carter blessed the life of every person he came into contact with, and Tucker Carlson is the boil on the ass of humanity. They couldn't be farther apart.
As a member of the Senate.
what failures, foreign policy failures, have I presided over?
Well, we were unable to beat Russia in the war that you supported against Russia. You've been spending the last 3 years telling us that Vladimir Putin is evil and we're going to beat him with other people's children, and 1 million of those kids are now dead. You've never apologized for that. That was a full failure.
By the way, look, the level of number of falsehoods you lay out just in one statement are rather
You haven't
stunning.
supported the war against Russia?
Are rather stunning. So the war against Russia was caused, which I have explained at great detail, by Joe Biden's weakness.
And by default, yours, Tucker.
But you
It was-
supported the war.
If you want to talk, we can talk Russia and Ukraine. I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, but do either of you speak Russian? Do you have any idea how many people are in Russia? Do you know what? Do you know how many months of the year there's permafrost in the Arctic or in the eastern part of of Russia? No, you don't. What about the western part? How about that? Which parts of have China renamed to Chinese areas? Do you even know that? How many? If a chicken and a half takes a day and a half to lay an egg and a half, how long would it take a monkey with a wooden leg to kick all the seeds out of a dill pickle? You don't even know the answer to that.
Do you think that's been a success?
No, it's been an absolute disaster.
Okay, but
Yeah, we should have gone further. Holding back. Oh, thank you, Tuckums versus Raphael. I know it's so good.
you supported it. Shouldn't you apologize?
No, you should apologize. I'm not
what?
going to engage in the demanding of apologies. So I'm going
But I'm like, that's my point. Is all these failures and no one ever says I'm
Matter, or
sorry.
do you just?
That's what it is. That's his point. Finally. Why does no one say I'm sorry? That's what it's all about. It's not about wars and unending wars and never-ending wars and forever wars and wars of words and War of the Roses being a fairly decent movie but never really getting the credit it deserves. No, it's about why has no one apologized? Why is there no apology? Why would you do that to me? No apologies. Jesus Christ.
Throw out if you want to talk, we can talk.
Okay.
Put down the frying pan.
I do. I want to know why that seems like a true disaster for the United States.
Nope.
You have supported it. Have
Do you believe
learned
Joe
anything?
Biden's weakness caused the war in Ukraine?
Yeah, the same way I think Iran attacked Israel because of it, and October 7th was caused by Biden being old and too friendly, and then of course Israel deciding to attack Iran is because of Donald Trump's weakness on tariffs.
I think Joe Biden's aggression caused it.
His aggression? What aggression?
Here it comes.
He demanded that Ukraine join NATO. How does that help the United States?
He did not demand that Ukraine join NATO. Gibberish.
It is a terrible idea, and I have
Yeah, nobody said it.
vigorously opposed Ukraine joining NATO.
Okay, so that's what caused the war.
No, it's not.
All right.
Do you want to know what caused the war? Like, you do the dismissive. You're not actually interested in.
Here's a good idea. How about this? What caused the war was a fake premise, no matter what it was. I mean, they're lying about it anyways. But it's on now. And if you're saying that Trump would have ended it just by being there, or it never would have started, then why can't he end it just by being back? Because you're full of shit. Because he views Trump just as weak as Biden, because it has nothing to do with this entirely, and you're just trying to cover your ass.
Facts. You're like, okay.
Okay,
Hal, don't you think this is just performative? No, I do not, Allie. No. It's an important question you bring up, though. But let me be abundantly clear. This is not kabuki theater. This is not, oh, well, I'll pretend to be for it, and you'll pretend to be after, and we'll all play, do not attribute 5D chess to any of this shit. They are all, both of them are speaking honestly right now. Donald Trump, when he says, nobody knows what I'm going to do, is telling the truth, because even he doesn't.
tell me, it seems super obvious. You're absolutely right, and I'm sorry. That is a tick of mine that is wrong, and I mean this with sincerity. I'm sorry to do that to you. I just think it seems so obvious that sending Kamala Harris to the NATO Security Conference to say, you're going to join NATO is what triggered the invasion days later.
Okay, so can I, this will take a few minutes to lay out because
Yes.
it's complicated, but I think the facts matter. I think two things caused the war in Ukraine. Number one, I think
The Afghan pullout, which apparently was a terrible cue to take.
Biden's incredible weakness and the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, I believe we need to leave Afghanistan, but not with the incompetence that led to 13 servicemen and women being murdered by terrorists there.
So stay in, is what you meant. Because if you listen to Trump, he wanted to keep Bagram, which means staying. You can't stay and leave at the same time. Just stay in. That's all you're doing. Fuck off.
The way Biden did that was disastrous, and I think
What was the way? Actually saying let's go? Actually, I mean, he didn't set the timeline. He pushed it.
enemies looked to the commander-in-chief and said, this president is
Yeah, Schrodinger's Afghanistan. That's a great way to look at it.
And when that withdrawal was so disastrous, I said publicly at the time, the chances of Putin invading Ukraine have just risen tenfold.
Right.
He was already in Ukraine in 2014, stupid. That's why they kicked him out of the G8 and made it the G7.
But secondly, and this is critically
Well, I
important.
Maybe thirdly.
agree. That was awful, the withdrawal.
And it was a
How was getting the hell bashed out of him on Tony Marco? Sorry. They were bashing me on Tony Michael's show this morning? You mean in the chat room or whatever? Tony says, fuck him. For what? I'd love to hear it. Because we should depose Democrats or something? Oh, God, I don't know.
major call.
Who cares? Who cares?
Of our enemies all said, hey, this president is weak. And so it invited, and by the way, look, I despise war, and I think
No, you don't.
weakness and isolationism produces war.
Right. So, cogito ergo sum, e pluribus unum, have a nice day. Tucker Carlson, you are why Russia invaded Ukraine. How's that feel, Jimmy Carter light?
Because it invites aggression from our bad guys. It's why I agree with Ronald Reagan's peace through strength. The best way you avoid war is being strong enough that your enemies don't want to mess with you. But let's get back to Ukraine and Russia. Look, Putin didn't wake up 2 years ago and decided he wanted to invade Ukraine. He's wanted to invade Ukraine for decades.
Yes, it was the apple of his eye.
Putin has referred to
Somebody said, haven't heard any facts yet. Please don't dilute yourself in thinking that either of these gentlemen have the mental capacity to process any of the facts that they're dealing with, because they all have to squeeze it through a fucking filter of how do I show fealty to Donald John Trump. So even if they had facts at one point, it's like put through a wood chipper by the time it gets to their brain pan, which is incapable of processing anything that requires a depth of thought. So don't get confused at any point and think, when are they going to get to the point where not going to happen? These guys are talking around their own assholes. Don't expect anything else, or you'll be seriously disappointed.
the collapse of
By the way, that's an evergreen piece of advice. That applies to any time either of these assholes are talking. Because what you'll find is 20% of the time with either one of these people, you will agree with something that they say, because that's how they mismanage facts. That's the point. Okay? And then 80% of the time, they're extrapolations where the destinations they get to. Here's a fact. I'm in a vehicle. It's got tires. I am leaving a driveway. I am pulling out onto the road. There are rules of the road. These are all facts. Agreed? Agreed. Great. Okay, so my idea is we put all the kids in the car and drive them off a cliff. What? Well, you didn't disagree with my facts earlier, right? It's the conclusion that matters. It's what they draw from the facts that they present, okay? Or it's a lot of times it's not even facts. It's common misconceptions that they present as common sense. You'll hear common sense all the time. Common sense, that's a big phrase with them. When they say common sense, what they mean is common misconceptions. The average person, if you ask them, is this how this works? They go, yeah, it sounds like that's how it works. Well, it's not. In French, they have a thing called faux amis, which is words that sound exactly alike, like incredible and incredible. And incredible means amazingly great and unbelievably good in English, and it means not credible in French. And so it sounds like incredible and incredible would be how you say incredible in French, right? That would be how you do it. But they're actually the opposite. So it's a trick of the turn. So in this particular case, they will extrapolate things that make it the opposite of wherever they started. So anyways, understand that.
the Soviet Union as, quote, the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century.
Sorry, the what was?
And Putin has long been explicit
Oh, he says it was the dissolution of it was
for decades. Putin has referred to the collapse of the Soviet Union as, quote, the greatest geopolitical disaster of the 20th century.
Okay, fact, you'll see what I mean here.
And Putin has long been explicit. His desire is to reassemble the old Soviet Union and, in fact, reassemble the Russian Empire that was even bigger than that. If you want to reassemble the Soviet Union, the natural place to start is Ukraine.
No, it's Georgia and Chechnya. He already did that. That's the part that everybody ignores. And again, this is exactly what I'm talking about. By focusing on Ukraine, you're just blowing past the fact that he invaded Georgia and basically is leveraging, the passage of gas, pipelines through their country to steal money from that area. They basically just invaded Georgia 900 yards past the pipeline so they can charge transit fees to the countries that's sending the gas through. And then took over Chechnya, killing, untold thousands of people. If you ignore that, then it looks like NATO expansion has gone off the fucking rails. Again, 1997, Russia-NATO expanding agreement. This motherfucker doesn't know anything about it. Neither does Ted Cruz. Both of them should. It's annoying.
Do you really believe that Putin has territorial designs on Eastern Europe?
Yes.
You know how you know? He said so, dummy. Yeah, he wants Alaska back.
What countries?
He has said that you can go and read his. Hold on. I don't want to lose the narrative of what happened, so we can go back and do that. But I don't want to lose telling the story first. So let me explain.
By the way, and the idea that Tucker Carlson went and interviewed Vladimir Putin and basically gargled his nuts while he was in Russia and doesn't know what Russia's plan, what Ruski Mir is, the Russian world, all that stuff is. It's absurd. It's a lie. It's just a fucking lie. There's no way he doesn't know this. There's no fucking way.
This, and then if you want to go back, we can take all sorts of.
It's as dumb as thinking this all started with Ukraine.
Digressions, but just give me a couple.
Paul says playing to an audience of one. I don't think so. I don't think they're both aiming at. Well, the audience of one would be MAGA as a big brainworm, because they're both trying to coax MAGA to their side of the aisle.
Couple of minutes to lay out the facts of what happened. He has wanted to invade Ukraine a long time. And he's done it before. In 2014, he invaded Ukraine, invaded Crimea. When Barack Obama was president, he invaded the southern portion. He did not invade the rest of the country. Why? And the reason is the principal source of revenue for Russia is oil and gas, and the natural gas pipelines run right through the country of Ukraine. And he didn't want to jeopardize his ability to get gas to Europe.
Right.
So in 2015, Putin started a project called Nordstream 2.
Did anything happen in 2014?
Yes. Yeah. The people of that country rose up, and Paul Manafort, who later worked for the Trump campaign, basically talked to Yanukovych and talked him into putting snipers in towers to kill people on Euromaidan.
In terms of what?
Wasn't there a coup in Ukraine run by the Obama administration?
Let me finish telling. I told you, we'll take lots of digressions in a second. Let me finish.
Yeah, that's a cartoon. The easy fallback is for dipshits who believe that the CIA runs everything in the fucking world. It's as dumb as the cabal of baby eaters storyline. And again, I guess the CIA is working hand in glove with the baby eaters who apparently can't even get, Trump shot in a field in Butler, right?
Telling the narrative. 2015, Putin began building Nord Stream 2. Nord Stream 2 is an undersea pipeline that runs from Russia to Germany. The entire purpose of Nord Stream 2 is when it was completed and turned on, it would let Russia circumvent Ukraine and get its gas straight to Europe. In 2019, Nord Stream 2 was almost complete. And the conventional wisdom in Washington was, this is terrible, but there's nothing we can do about it. I didn't believe that. So I drafted sanctions legislation that was targeted to stop the pipeline. My legislation passed the Senate with overwhelming.
Yes, and Tucker Carlson's balance in his checking account went down precipitously.
Bipartisan support. It passed the House, and Donald Trump signed it in law.
Can I just ask, why wouldn't you want Germany to have cheap energy?
Why wouldn't you want to have cheap energy? I mean, and arguably, why wouldn't you want to just have as much Iranian oil as they want, or Venezuelan? Why wouldn't you? Yes, if they would take the funds and they're using it to pay for, invading other countries, and they'd already invaded. I mean, why do you care about Georgians? This is so stupid.
Because it empowers Russia, and I believe in making our enemies weaker and our friends stronger.
Has blowing up Nord Stream made Germany stronger?
Not being dependent on Russia has made Germany stronger.
So you think Germany is stronger now than it was 4 years ago?
I think not being dependent on Russia. Germany has all sorts of problems, and many of them are domestic to their own politics. Hold on, let me finish. I'm trying to.
No, but what you're saying, it doesn't. Germany seems so much weaker now that its energy costs have spiked and the manufacturing sector is collapsing because of that.
let me finish. I'm focused on America's interest.
But again, can I remind everyone, we have two inserious morons discussing something that is out of both of their depth. And both of them will strike on material realities or opinions that you'll go, oh, that sounds fairly reasonable. But understand what they will attach it to. They will take every balloon that possibly could float, and they will attach it to a fucking anchor and put it in the water and watch it sink.
I don't want Russia stronger because I believe Russia is our enemy. You and I disagree on that. We can talk about that. But I want our enemies weaker. I don't want to go to war with Russia, but I want our enemies weaker. I don't want Europe dependent on Russia. I don't want...
Is there anything about that whole only pedophiles wear just a pinky ring thing? Sorry, I digress.
Putin, rich with oil and gas revenues and able to invest in his military and pose a threat to America. So, the sanctions legislation that I authored, it passed. Putin stopped building Nord Stream 2 literally the day that President Trump signed my sanctions legislation into law.
Right. So just for those keeping score, this is Ted Cruz taking credit for when Trump says he ended Nord Stream, right? Ending Nord Stream. I stopped it and Biden let it happen or whatever. This is Ted Cruz taking credit for that thing. Just, I don't want that to be missed, so that if anybody notices this and it rolls through and Trump goes, wait a minute, Ted Cruz is taking credit for the fact that I shut down? Okay, there we go.
Signed it.
You keep hearing Nordstrom. I know, we all need to go. I need a new pair of, they sell, those 6-packs of socks. Sorry.
If I remember right, at 7 p.m. on a Thursday, Putin stopped construction at 6:45 p.m. So the sanctions legislation worked, and it killed the pipeline. The pipeline lay dormant for over a year. Just a hunk of metal at the bottom of the ocean.
Full of gas.
Joe Biden came into office. He was sworn in on January 20th, 2021. Putin resumed deep-sea construction of Nord Stream 2 4 days later, January 24th. He did so because Biden had foreshadowed weakness on this issue. That foreshadowing was accurate because several months later, Biden formally waived the sanctions on Nord Stream 2 and let Putin complete the pipeline. Mm-hmm. In January of 2022, I forced a vote on the Senate floor to reimpose sanctions on Nord Stream 2. The week of the vote, President Zelensky in Ukraine publicly called on the Senate, please pass this sanctions legislation. It is the last best hope of stopping Russia from invading Ukraine. At the same time, the government of Poland put out a formal statement from the foreign ministry.
Dakota's like, yawn. This is all... again, Monday morning quarterbacking, but yes, Biden was right. But the good part of this is Tucker has no idea what he's talking about. None of these details, none of what happened in the Senate, where the sanctions came from, the fact that they weren't Trump's, that none of that stuff, like nothing.
To the Senate, calling on the Senate to pass my sanctions legislation, and said, if you do not, Putin will invade Ukraine. The day of the vote, Joe Biden came to Capitol Hill. It's the first time in his presidency he had done that. He went to the Democrat senators' lunch, and he personally lobbied them on this issue. Not any other issue. This was his number one issue that he came to lobby them on.
Gibberish.
They came out of that lunch. Every Democrat had...
But that's a flat lie, by the way. I don't know if he brought it up. I have no doubt that he brought up this sanction or whatever, because they were trying to normalize with Russia and giving them one last chance was the idea. And they didn't think they were actually going to invade at that particular point. And then when he did actually gin up and decide, when Russia started moving its medics to the front line right outside the Donbass, Biden was like, oh, yep, they're going in. And they told Zelensky and they told the Europeans and they told everybody, and everybody said nope, including fucking Hamas Abi and Rusty Trombone. All these people were like, he's just trying to start a war with Russia. They're not going to invade. And they did.
Voted with me twice against Nord Stream 2. 44 Democrats flipped their vote. They voted in favor of Russia, in favor of Putin, and 4 weeks later, Russia invaded Ukraine. That was the direct cause of the war. And if Trump had been president, there would be no war in Ukraine.
So may I ask, I, of course, disagree with your analysis.
Not with the details that you put forth. I have no idea whether you signed that legislation or any of that happened, because both of us are talking out of our ass.
Completely, but I want to be respectful.
Okay.
And
so tell me what you disagree with.
It's such a long conversation. I've spent the last couple of years on this, and I just respectfully disagree with your analysis, but I don't doubt.
How so? This is so lame.
Your sincerity, that you believe that Putin is our enemy, that Western Europe should not be allowed to use Russian energy. I mean, you seem to really believe these things. My question is about results, because I think it's relevant to what we're seeing now in Iran. You look back after having you personally voted to send billions and billions and billions of U.S. tax dollars to Zelensky to support his civil service in the war against Russia and all this stuff. Can you say that what you did worked?
Yes. Does Russia control all of Ukraine, which they plan to do within 6 fucking days? This is just stupid. And by the way, this is not me siding with this dipshit. But like the premise of the question is just dorky.
So I can say what I did personally, sanctioning Nord Stream 2 worked and prevented a war. And if Trump had still been there, if the sanction had been in effect, there would be no war. I'm in favor of avoiding wars.
But once the war broke out, you voted to fund it.
You can't fund a war that was a war of aggression. You can fund the defense of it. Anyways.
To the tune of billions and billions and billions.
And to be clear.
And did that work?
Okay, to be.
Yes, Russia does not control Ukraine. They've captured I don't know, whatever, 30 football fields worth of land in the last 3 years and lost 1 million soldiers. I think so, actually. And it wasn't Ted Cruz alone. Supporting Ukraine has been an unmitigated success, considering a war of attrition and the destruction of the Ukrainian people and the language and the culture and the human beings that were there and the grabbing of the entire country was the goal. Fuck yeah, dummy.
To be clear, what I voted for the initial tranche of funding and then I voted against the subsequent one. So it hasn't.
So you're an impotent fuck. So yeah. So you're a backpedaler and a wuss. Hey, how about this? Maybe the first vote for the sanction thing made him look all tough, but once that failed, Russia knew you'd fall in line. Maybe it's your weakness, Ted Cruz, that caused all this.
Worked. So I've been in between. I haven't been on the full Ukraine, full-throated hawk side or the anti from day one. I voted for the initial tranche of funding because I wanted Russia to lose. I think the Biden administration administered it in a horrible way. I think they wasted a ton of money.
Because you think they should have gone further. Say it. Say it, you wuss. You want to talk about like peace through strength and the power of forceful leadership, and then you're like, I think they should have done something. But now that they're not going to do that something, then fuck it. Maybe you're the Afghanistan collapse that he took. Maybe the assumption that people like Ted Cruz would be in charge of these kind of fundings, or that they would spearhead bills like this, or something that Russia took in.
I think what they did was actually incoherent because they were funding both sides of the war. I was very vocal and among other things, flooding $100 million.
Also, both of these assholes. Just fun.
To Iran, which was used, among other things, to help the nuclear program, but also to make drones that Russia used to fight.
Okay, so here's my concern. I'm not going to defend the Biden administration. Really did a lot to wreck the United States.
Yeah, did the most damaging administration.
Look, they can finally, now they're friends.
And where we sit now, Russia is stronger. It's close.
No. Unless, I don't know, maybe Tucker Carlson is going, you know what would make any country stronger? 1 million dead roofing age males.
Closely allied long-term with China.
I don't know that Russia's stronger. I don't think that's right.
Okay.
Have you seen the bread they have in their markets 4 blocks from the Kremlin? Have you seen the hookers they have over there? Ted has. Twink.
I think it's pretty obvious that it is. But it's certainly not destroyed. And it's allied long-term with China.
No, it's not.
Maybe. There's no doubt Biden's foreign policy drove Russia into the arms of China, and that's concerning. Okay. They also have a long history of animosity.
Western Europe is weaker and more in debt. The United States is weaker and much more in debt. Hold on. So
you and I are agreeing on a lot.
We're agreeing.
Hold on. Does this asshole think Russia's getting rich off this war? Jesus. There's an ocean between Russia and Germany. These guys are saying there's a pipeline underneath an ocean that isn't there, and that is one hell of a drug. Yeah. Well, Richard, what they're saying is they wanted to circumvent Ukraine so they wouldn't have to pay transit fees. And the idea is that if they didn't have to pay the transit fees, they wouldn't attack Ukraine. This is the premise that Cruz is cocking up right now. And it's all bullshit.
Here's my question. Have you questioned any of your previous assumptions. Did you play any role in this at all? Are you responsible at all?
Of course, and like you
Like,
said...
what have you learned?
Like you said you've changed your mind.
Yeah,
I voted for the first funding of the Ukraine war, and I voted against every subsequent funding stream.
Yes, that's what a turncoat or a weasel would do. Yeah, nice follow through, dickhead. I'll start this, but if it escalates at all, I'm out of here. Thanks. I salute you, Turd Cruz.
Because it wasn't working, and I looked at what was happening.
Hal Sparks, which one's opinion is more wrong? They are equally wrong because they will take similar facts like the pros and cons of something. So you're seeing the pros and cons of a situation like this just thrown on the floor, and both of them are just taking turns shitting diarrhea all over the other person's point, but not actually doing anything with them.
And said,
that was a terrible analogy, but I stand by it.
Is not working, and had the money been spent in an intelligent way and not wasted, and had it been successful, I might have been willing to fund more. But it wasn't successful, so I voted no. And the war is going to end. Look, President Trump campaigned on ending the war.
Yes, in an hour, on one phone call before he takes office. How's that working out, stupid? You want to talk about like somebody looking at something as weakness? Shit, you could argue that his inability to stop the Ukraine war like he bragged he could do in an hour is why we got, Israel feeling comfortable to attack Iran, and he's going to fold in behind them, right? That would be the idea. They can count on it because he's just a liar.
I think he's frustrated because Putin has been less than eager to reach a deal to end the war, but it's going to end. You're not going to see another dollar coming from Congress.
Do you think Zelensky wants to end the war?
Of course he does, stupid. Do you think Zelensky? No, he just wants to keep fighting it because he thinks he's a war president and he likes his own people dying. That's why he started the war in the first place. Jesus Christ.
I think Zelensky has behaved horribly. I think
No, he hasn't. Shut the fuck up. Stop trying to kiss Tucker's ass.
his Oval Office meeting will go down in history as the worst Oval Office meeting of any leader that has ever come to the Oval Office. I think.
Right, because Trump is terrible at everything, and he didn't even know that they had the drone program ready to go.
He behaved like a punk.
And when he said, you got no cards, they literally had some of the most amazing cards we've seen played in modern warfare since the beeper attack.
Trump's ass. And I think he is unrealistic. I think Zelensky spends his time with Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer in the New York Times, and he believed he was going to the Oval Office as a resist figure. And I think he's doing real damage to his country right now.
You described him many times as a hero.
I don't recall ever using the word hero. I will say, look, I'm not a Zelensky cheerleader, and I'm not in the business.
God damn it. I don't know which is more gross. Tucker's just insistence on crowbarring every bullshit Kremlin talking point into this that he possibly can, unattached from the alleged peacenik, linguistic gymnastics he's doing, or Ted Cruz is just folding like a fucking pocket knife at every turn. Good go, it's even right now. If we had to score this right now, both of these guys are equally mentally lazy and grotesque.
Of saying everyone we support has to be a saint and everyone we oppose has to be a villain. I'm not in the morality game. I'm in.
Of course not. You're a Trump supporter. You couldn't possibly be, or this whole conversation would have been about the Epstein files. You tit.
The U.S. interest game. Why did I want Nordstream 2 stopped? Because it would strengthen Russia, and Russia's our enemies. It's entirely U.S. interest.
Did you support the industrial sabotage against it, blowing it up?
So I think you believe America did that. Is that right?
Of course.
Okay, I think the chances of that are zero.
You think Russia did it?
No, I think Ukraine did it. Okay, so I don't know.
I think Russia did it. You know why I think that? Because there are more cameras on that fucking pipeline than any other pipeline in the entire world, and yet there's no footage of the attack. What are the fucking odds of that? There's no footage around the attack. And the hole in it comes from the inside. They sent a pig into it and they blew it up. You know why? Because they sent all the guys who would be responsible for draining the gas that was already in there to fucking get their brains blown out in the Donbass, and they don't have the staff to actually do it. So they just emptied it. They blew a hole in it, thought it would be politically helpful. It was in the Tucker Carlson world, but they drained the gas out of it into the fucking ocean. Because they didn't have it wasn't going to go to Germany. It had stopped. They had shut it completely down on that side. So if you want to get the gas out of this fucking bomb that's under the water, it's either coming back through Russia or it's going out a hole.
So I don't know who did it. In terms of the theories that have been put out there, the idea that Russia blew up their own pipeline never made any sense to me at all.
Well, then why didn't the cameras work? Why didn't the sensors work? It's their fucking pipeline. The other thing is, why do we want anybody who builds a pipeline like that under the water not to have working sensors and working cameras that bad around an explosion like that? Well, I mean, that's reason enough to never let them build another undersea pipeline again, wouldn't you think? That's the biggest problem I have with it. If somebody dove down there or dropped a bomb next to it and set it off, you'd see it. It's so stupid. Of course they blew it up, dummy. They paid Ukrainians from the Donbass, who are Russians, to do it.
That just, I can't even articulate why they would do that.
I just did, and it's not difficult. Gulf of Tonkin, false flags work like crazy. Why wouldn't you? Jesus.
The idea that Biden did that, look, I could see it being in U.S. interest to do that, to blow up Nordstream 2. I just think Biden was too weak. I don't believe Joe Biden.
But are you in? I guess you in.
So that leads
the Norwegians, the Ukrainians, NATO, whatever.
Look, that leads me to
difference.
Same difference. No, not the same difference. So Ukraine's already in NATO? Well, shit, let's crack on with Article 5 then, fucko. Good Lord. Thank you, Richard.
Who benefits? And it leads me to think either the Ukrainians blew it up or
Russia benefits. It's a dead-end pipeline attached to one of their facilities. It's full of gas. They don't want to drain it out the other direction. They can use it for political means, blame it on somebody else, use it to manipulate, the administration or the House or the Senate.
Ukraine's allies. I don't think Biden did because...
No, I don't think Cruz was in the military, insofar as I know.
Biden was so weak, I don't think he would give the order. I find that implausible.
But you're in favor of it.
Look, I was in favor of stopping it. I think blowing it up was a good thing. So I'm supportive of that, but I don't think America did that. I don't think Biden gave that order.
But in
I
general,
could see Trump giving that.
But in general, I could see Trump giving that order. Here we go.
But
because macho.
He wasn't in office.
Yes, Trump could have given that order because he is full of himself, desperately wants people to think his dick is bigger than a Vienna sausage, and makes stupid decisions all the time. Right? Yes, yes, I agree with that reasoning. Yeah. How about this? How about if it was MAGA loyalists in the National Guard who rowed a boat out there and then did it while sending a cable to Putin that said, "What's that over there?"
Yeah. And you think...
Please don't film the pipeline for the next 18 hours.
That the largest act of industrial sabotage in history helped our allies in Western Europe or other fellow NATO members.
Look, I got to say, I don't understand. For some reason, you are really invested in defending Russia, and I don't get that. I'm not attacking you with that. I'm genuinely, I don't get why you're so passionate about it.
Well, it's because it's not that I'm defending Russia. It's that I'm just offended when America goes after everyone, but I only bring it up when it's Russia.
Defending Russia.
Actually, I was defending Western Europe, the home of my ancestors, and that, tripling their energy costs and destroying their industrial base. Not like. You just accused me of being an anti-Semite, an isolationist, and a Russia lackey. I've not.
Yeah, and normally that's what he says as the password to get into the special meetings.
Called you a neocon once, which you are, but I haven't said that.
Damn! I haven't called you a neocon once. And now that we've degraded into name calling, that's what I'm going to do. I say, if we're going to talk with these kind of tongues, we should just go outside on the playground where everyone else is.
Absurd. Yeah, those neocons that oppose the Iraq War.
Right.
But like that's
Okay,
dishonest.
but I haven't called you that because name
Well,
calling.
you just said, which you are, you just called that.
Okay.
Called me that. You just did.
Yeah, you called me a name, okay? And I didn't call you a name, but you called me a name. And I wasn't calling you a name. I was describing you as something. I was describing your behavior. And you took the name of the... I know you are, but what am I? I know you are. Shut up, Francis.
I guess what I'm saying is you're triggered because I use name calling. I get it. I was triggered when you called me names. And I'm triggered once again that you're calling me a Russia defender.
Do you guys need a safe space? Jesus Christ. I thought Don Jr.'s show was called Triggered, ironically. This one should be called Triggered genuinely. Like I think that's all we're watching here is two grown men triggered by schoolyard insults. Jesus.
When in fact I'm defending Western Europe.
No, you're not. Not if you want them on the... What, if you're defending Western Europe, why don't you go, Europe doesn't need Russian oil. They can just do this all with nuclear and renewables. Fuck them. I think we should be completely dislodged from anybody who might, mean to attack us the way they did Georgia or Chechnya. This is bullshit.
And I don't think that
Do you think...
By the way, both of these men are cowards. No, don't worry, Donnie. Both of these men are cowards.
Putin's our enemy.
Well, he's literally our enemy. You are funding a war against him.
But do you think he is our... No, you're saying we're his enemy. Do you think Putin is our enemy?
I think it is a tragedy that your policies, specifically yours, helped drive Putin into the arms of China, forming a bloc that's larger than us.
So you won't answer
Gibberish.
that question.
I don't... He is literally...
I can't is what you're looking for. The words you're trying to say is, I can't say that. They pay for this. The whole network. Yeah, it wouldn't happen otherwise. I mean, he's a rich asshole anyways, but that's also part of his bug out plan.
our enemy right now. That is a tragedy for the United States.
No, you're saying, but you won't say he is our enemy. And look, like I
know
watched
in what sense? I don't want to be enemies with Russia. It doesn't help us at all. It may help.
Well, then maybe you're for regime change then. Good God. Again, it would be one thing if these assholes weren't talking about, well, Biden's weakness is what brought on the attack. And both of them are such fucking pusillanimous weasels.
Some people in the United States, but in general,
let me be clear.
I don't want to be.
I don't want to be at war with Russia. I don't think it is in our interest to be at war with
aligned
Russia.
with China. That is a disaster.
But listen.
Okay. Does anyone think that's really what Tucker Carlson's concern is? Please. It's fucking embarrassing. How many people are in... what's the population of China, Tucker? What's the ethnic makeup of China? Why should we do business with a country that has 1 million fucking Uyghurs in concentration camps? Why? What are there Russian Chinese people and Chinese Russian people that because the lines were drawn during a fight and they still haven't gotten over it? Do you know anything about the... Like, this is so stupid. He knows less about Russia than he presumes that Ted Cruz knows about Iran. And he went there and interviewed the leader.
No doubt, and I want Russia and China.
Benny Hill versus Mr. Bean. I like both those people. Tucker and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Dennis Leary needs to moderate these two. Oh my God. Here it is. You're an assoli, oli, 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 oli. Shut up, both of you. Hey, I'm gonna whack you one. Sorry. I don't do much of a Dennis Leary, but that'll have to do.
Attention. So I agree with you there. But I think Putin is a KGB thug. I think he is a bad man. Now, I don't want to go to war with him over that. Okay. But I'm not naive. And like I watched your episode.
Like you are, you little... That's where he's going.
Man, he's a bad man. Okay.
Look, I watched your episode where you went to the Russian grocery store. And I'm genuinely...
Was that disloyal, do you think?
It was just weird. It was like a promo video for Russia. And
Again, you're showing weakness, Turd Cruz. Right? You're showing weakness. It was a promo video.
Don't understand. I'm not attacking
Oh my word, hell, where's the preacher filter? I know.
you when I ask why, because I'm genuinely I don't get
like when you called me and said something. You weren't attacking me, you were just noticing.
No,
but may I ask you a question? So
diversion, diverted, never went there. Didn't answer the question, didn't deal with it. Confirmation. As far as I'm concerned, Somebody send a clip of this whole thing to both of these dickheads. Confirmation, Tucker Carlson is a Russian stooge, and Ted Cruz knows nothing about any of the issues that he presides over on committee, except yelling about how Biden bad, Trump good.
Well, let me just answer yours by saying the United States, the Biden administration, with your help, full support.
Full support. You like the little jabs? I do.
Began this war on Russia.
Began this war on Russia. Hold on, real quick.
Dum 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 stupid dumb silly stupid dum 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 dopey dippy dum dum stupid really dumb dum 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 dum
Began this war on Russia. Jesus.
In response to their invasion of Ukraine. And one of the things was they kicked Russia out of SWIFT, out of the international financial system. Yeah. And my first response was, this is going to really hurt the US dollar, which it has. And I hope.
No, it hasn't. The dollar's still worth more than $1 because of what Biden did. No, it hasn't. The dollar is not the problem. And it has nothing to do with inflation. Jesus Christ. You can't say that that's what caused it. If that hurt the dollar, then the overspending after COVID didn't do it. Shut the fuck up. Talk about not knowing anything. Just, why don't you just lay, I mean, look, I did it. They got me. I got caught up in the actual merits of the conversation. I forgot this is all puppetry, son of a bitch. And I don't mean that both of them are disingenuously, fighting for what their side together as some sort of smokescreen for Trump. No, they're both bullshitters confronted by, slamming into the crash test dummy wall of bullshit.
Someday we can have a conversation about that. It's really, really hurt the one thing that we needed, which was to retain dollar supremacy. So BRICS is awesome, and the BRICS coin is going to kick our ass. And and BRICS, once they've gotten together, even though they fucking hate each other, I just saw a or it wasn't First Post. It was First Post. It's Padme, the host that used to be on the Indian show, the Weon show, has got her own thing now. And she was talking about the US dollar against BRICS. Of course, the coalition of the G7, they make less money than the BRICS, but BRICS is not really a thing. I was interested in the economic condition.
By the way, that's a reasonable point and a serious conversation.
I'm aware. And
but I can agree with you.
No, but I was accused of being, I think it's weird that you went to a Russian grocery store.
Yeah, and you didn't answer it. You didn't answer. You diverted to this.
And said it was prosperous. No, my point is
it looked like a commercial. It looked like a commercial. Isn't this wonderful?
It was a commercial.
No, it was an argument against the efficacy of sanctions. Sanctions against Russia, which...
Well, then why didn't you go out into the countryside? Do you think, in an authoritarian area, do you think in the capital, close to the spots where leadership lives and works, that's where sanctions are going to, you think that's where the stores are going to be, lacking food, and you think that's where the expense is going to go up? Or do you think it's going to be out in the Russian equivalent of red states? God damn.
You casually and enthusiastically imposed, scoring a little moral victory every time, had no material effect that helped the United States. Russia is backstopped by China, and I recommend that you go there and see it. It is.
You didn't go there. You went to 2 fucking cities, the rich areas, surrounded by minders and people who helped you shoot it while you were filming with Vladimir Putin. You didn't go there, motherfucker. And by the way, go to China and pull that shit. Go there where you don't actually have a lead on the leadership. Where you actually can, the leadership is your buddy or thinks they have you on a fishing line. Go. Please fucking go. Do one of these dipshit, pro-China YouTube vlogger trips over there. Oh my God, we don't even have this in America. Okay. They don't have any homeless. Sure. Yep, do that. There's no drug problem. It's amazing. The streets are so clean everywhere I go. I'm basically alone, but...
Way nicer than Washington, D.C. Way nicer. To me, that's a tragedy. I was horrified and angry at my leaders, including you. It's I want to live in a country that's nice. With low food costs and no homeless people.
All right.
Yeah, can't we scoop them all up in vans and dump them into the fucking river like the Russians and the Chinese do? Why can't we do that, Turd Cruz?
I don't understand why that's too much to ask.
So do
Instead, I get wars with Iran. No, I just want lower food costs. How's that?
So, look, it's a weird argument that you do often, which is, listen, things are crappy in America. Liberals have done bad things to America, so we shouldn't worry about any
not
enemies
liberals,
around the
Republican
world.
senators.
Republicans
they don't care about us. They're focused on other countries.
You wrote that
and our country is dying, and you don't care because you're focused on Iran or Putin.
So you believe that I don't care about America. I guess you believe Donald Trump doesn't either. Like nobody cares.
I believe that your focus.
Oh, God. I need some sort of graphic where I'm like roasting a marshmallow or just like popcorn rises up. Like I should have popcorn like on a stand that comes up so I can just.
Focus is way too on other countries.
Yeah, totally. It's way too on other countries. Okay?
It's way too focused outward. The money that you send abroad could be used here and should be.
What money that I send abroad, by the way, I emphatically
How much
agree
did you
with,
send
with
to Ukraine? You don't even know.
I emphatically agree with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think at one point he thought that, you know, it's a rhetorical. The laugh became a way of shutting down the conversation going any further. But he has to. I guess maybe he didn't realize that Ted Cruz is as big an asshole as he is.
Trump's, for example, dramatically slashing USAID. I think the only reason we should be deploying that is to benefit U.S.
By the way, this is the whole, like, why don't we just out-cruel each other seems to be the fallback.
Interest, national security.
Yeah, Peggy, this is nuts. But it's good nuts. It's good crazy.
Interest in keep Americans safe. And so.
How much did you vote to send to Ukraine?
Look, you're in about $80 billion.
$80 billion.
Yeah.
80
so you're in, you love just giving these broad characterizations that are not accurate.
Yeah, that's the entire basis of the show, stupid. Oh my God, Ted Cruz is waking up. Next thing you know, he'll realize that, oh, maybe Trump isn't on the Epstein list because he, his flight logs as much because more than 7 times because he's got his own plane and he flew to St. Martin all the time and it's just a boat ride to Epstein's Island. Weird. He was friends with him for 25 years, way longer than anybody else on the Democratic side that I seem to, infer all the time that they did terrible shit.
I'm genuinely puzzled. Look, I don't want to go to war with Russia.
I'm genuinely puzzled why a grown man would laugh like this. Genuinely. I don't get it. I don't know where that comes from. It's either too much medication or not enough.
But I don't think they're our friend. I think Putin.
I agree.
I think Putin is a murderer.
Not anymore after the way we've treated them. Of course they're not our friend. Would you be our friend if they were mean to you the way they were, the way you were, Ted Cruz? I wouldn't be friends with us either. I'm not even sure I am. I'm not even sure I love America anymore. I like it, but not that much. And of course, I have a lot of money in investment properties all over. Jesus Christ.
I think he's a liar, and I think he does not wish well on America.
Okay.
And I know he's your best friend.
And there's a difference between saying that, just like Reagan referred to the Soviet Union as an evil empire, and Putin was in the KGB. Look, my father was imprisoned and tortured in Cuba. I hate communists. It was actually Batista that tortured my dad. My aunt was imprisoned and tortured by Castro.
Yeah, let's get it right.
Hate communists. I think communism is evil. And so I think there is a value to, there is nobody who stands up to communist China more in the Senate than I do, because I think they're evil. Do I want to go to war with China? Of course not. That would be ridiculous, but I think we have all sorts of tools to stand up to our enemies. And I think China is engaged in a 1,000-year war against the United States.
Okay.
They're trying.
Did it? The 1,000-year war. Well, I'm glad they think we're going to be around another 750 years, I guess. That's nice, I suppose. They got more faith in us than Tucker does.
We're so all over the map. We're your family in prison in Cuba and China and all this stuff.
Yes, that laugh is what Monty Python would have called a laugh of the upper class twit of the year. JWB, that's exactly right. It's literally like the Cleese character more than right.
I agree with you. I'm totally opposed to communism. Always have been.
Are you though? Also, we're not talking about communism, fucko. The USSR died in 1991. Russia is not a communist state. It's a mafia kleptocracy, stupid.
I don't think that Putin loves us. I'm distressed.
Who's us? Do you think he loves you, though? I think he does.
By the moral condition of most leaders around the world. Most of them. They all kill people. I'm against that.
Right, generically. They're all responsible for the deaths of other people. Some do it by sanctioned actions that you may or may not disagree with. Other ones hire guys specifically to shotgun an entire family, put the gun in the father's mouth as he's seen his family die and blow his brains out, and then write a suicide note with his dead hand. You know, what? Same diff.
I'm just saying, I wish the focus here was more on the United States.
Yeah, this is the America First fallback. This is the cowards' point of view that they throw. And this, by the way, this is the exact same. This is where America First came from before World War II. This is exactly what this is.
I actually don't agree with that statement. They all kill people. There's a moral relativism. So I don't think Donald Trump is a murderer. He doesn't kill people. We don't have concentration
Donald
camps.
Trump a murderer?
Yeah, you are. You're equating him with what Russia does, and it's samey same, motherfucker.
You just said world leaders all kill people, and there's a moral relativism.
I'm hardly a moral relativist.
But you are. That statement was the essence.
Ouch. First, you call him a neocon, and then he calls you a moral relativist, when both of you are just plain douchebags. Can't we all get along in agreeing that both of these dickheads are equally useless as human beings? I'm just enjoying the catfight.
A Semite, an isolationist, a moral relativist. I'm okay. No, I'm not.
Did you just say world leaders all kill people?
I'm saying I'm against killing people in general.
In general. Okay, when are you... So what? So is everybody, asshole. When are you for it specifically? Tucker is high. You may be right. I mean, I would argue that there's probably... He definitely has, he overdoes it on the nicotine pouches, right? We know he's gacked on them all the time. And then he probably takes something to take the edge off so he's not chirpy, and that's where the laugh comes from. Or he could just be nuts.
So...
And hyperventilating about how Putin was in the KGB or whatever. I just want to...
Hyperventilating about it. He just called you a bitch, Ted Cruz.
Serve American interests, and pushing into China is not in our interest at all. And you helped do it, and you haven't apologized. And
that's good. And by the way, you're the cheerleader. I helped drive him into China. It's a complete lie.
You funded the war against him.
No, I authored the legislation.
Again, I don't want to gloss over this. Tucker Carlson always says the war against Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. Think how diluted and fucked up you have to be to constantly refer to a war against Russia when Russia started it. We didn't fund a war against Russia. We funded a war to defend Ukraine. We even need, I would argue, another fucking word for war, because this was just an attack.
That shut down Nordstream 2, that prevented the war, and if Trump had still been in the White House, we would have had the war. And
gibberish.
And look, the comment you made, the reason things like moral relativism are so dangerous, oh, everyone kills people. No, there is a difference. The United States, we don't have concentration camps. We don't torture and murder people. You look at China, where they've got 1 million prisoners in concentration.
Remember I told you about, like, singular facts, and then they will throw them into a wood chipper, and what they will come up with is, is anybody's guess.
Can't you look at Putin, where he's got prisoners in Siberia? He tortures and murders his political opponents. Donald Trump doesn't do that.
That's not... do you think that's going to actually bend Tucker Carlson? Do you think that's going to actually teach him anything? What you need to say to Tucker Carlson is that Putin rewards his friends for the most egregious, horrifying, inhuman things, including those who run interference for him, and then leave that at his doorstep. Why am I advising Ted Cruz? I apologize.
America doesn't do that. And by the way,
what are you
most
even talking
other countries
about?
Don't do that.
I see the game. It's like, I'm distressed.
You're the one playing a game.
I'm distressed.
No, I'm responding with facts. You don't like the facts.
I don't even know what facts you're talking about. I'm not saying that Trump puts people in concentration camps. I campaigned for Trump. I love Trump.
So did I.
Okay. So this has nothing to do with Trump. I'm merely saying
When you said every world leader kills people, it puts
just
them
want
all
more
on the
emphasis on what's happening inside the country. That's it.
Is there a
That's
moral
it.
difference
Inside which country? Okay, I script lost.
between America and our enemies? Is there
Are
a
you
moral difference
joking?
between America?
Of course.
And what is it? Articulate it.
I'm
It's
American.
valuable to say why. Why are we a better country founded on better values than China?
I'll tell
What's
you-
the
I'll
difference?
tell you why.
And I know
Because the whole purpose of America is to protect the God-given rights that each person possesses by virtue of being created by God.
Amen.
By being human.
Right, and none of the ones created by rule of law. This is an important part right here. This is where the only point where they really had a solid agreement. He said amen. Okay, the God-given rights. So the God-given rights don't involve the kind of stuff that society's put together. Adam and Eve were not born under a shelter. Adam and Eve, when they were cast out of the garden, didn't get health care after that. You see what I'm saying? Do you understand where they tried to take that? And this applies to like all the arguments that these kind of assholes put in. It's actually very valuable view of how these guys work and operate, and the people like them work and operate, because they don't view any of these things, those kind of things, the stuff that societal protections like Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, any of that stuff, or homeless shelters, any of that shit. That's not a God-given right. That's the actions of man, and you can disagree with it or even shut it down. As a matter of fact, God, whatever you say about Adam and Eve, he didn't build them a house, did he? They didn't even have a shelter. That's up to you guys. It's an important distinction. This is a sales pitch.
That's the point of our founding documents. And
No, it isn't.
no other country articulates that.
The point of our founding documents is basically to pick up slack for the natural rights that are there that need protecting, and the rights that are created around a philosophical idea of the value of society, of how we would take care of those lesser than us in a material sense. It was the politics of it. It wasn't just a fucking like goals list they wrote out. It was a material document to carry out those goals. You fucking moron.
The way that we do. And that's what I love about America. My family's been here a long time. I'm never leaving. So I really love the country.
Because I said so.
Despite going to a Russian grocery store, despite asking you questions about AIPAC, I love America is the truth. And I love Trump. So, but I just want more emphasis on America. That's it.
That's not true at all, by the way. Just saying. If he wanted more emphasis on America, he would champion things like dealing with homelessness, drug addiction, rising healthcare costs, rising house prices, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't care. Democrats do that. Democrats are more focused on the citizenry of the United States than these assholes. It's performative bullshit. Yeah, none of that is true, what he just said. Because he's never, ever displayed that. Isolationism isn't enough. I'm not going to buy it just because you think we shouldn't go to war overseas or something, that somehow makes you care more about the United States. Democrats care more about the United States. You know how I know? Because Joe Biden spent his entire presidency planting trees he will never sit under the shade of. He set the system in place where we would remove lead pipes, where we would build infrastructure, where we would rebuild schools all across this country. The first infrastructure bill in 25 fucking years. And his budget was so good, the Republicans filed a CR because they know they can't beat it. No, you can't say you're America first just because you want to retreat in the world. That's not enough. It's cowardice. I want to see you actually give a shit about American citizens. If you think we need voter ID, we need to make sure every citizen has an ID or a way to vote legally where they never have to worry about it, because you're a fucking citizen and it's your right. It's in the Constitution. It is up to us in the Senate and the House and everywhere else to make sure you have that right and you can trust it, right? Not, we need a voter ID so we can keep all these illegals from voting when they fucking aren't, when you're really just trying to drive down the number of people voting because you know you can only win when the voting count is low. It is not enough to call yourself America first because you just want to abandon the rest of the world. I don't see anywhere where these motherfuckers are worried about the VA in any reality, where they're worried about people needing health care at all. Piss off. Oh, hi, Jen. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here too. Thank you.
I emphatically agree with America first. I think Donald Trump does as well.
And yeah, it's a phrase. Again, by the way, hold on. If I may.
The Michael J. Fox Foundation launched in 2000.
I think that's lovely. Hold on. There you go. I got to find a cleaner version of this allowed. The ugly origins of Trump's America First policy. In 2016, he used the term, blah, blah, blah. This approach is remarkable because over the past century, America First has acquired some very unsavory connotations. Although it seemed innocent slogan goes back deep in American history, it began to develop a racist and anti-Semitic and xenophobic tone after World War I. The Ku Klux Klan, which surged to some 5 million members at the time, employed it frequently for its terrorist mobilizations. Like the Klan, nativist groups took up America First as they used racist, eugenicist claims to press successfully for the U.S. government restrictions on immigration, appealing to it, which, by the way, great replacement theory anywhere? Right, okay. Like the Klan, nativist group took up America First as they used racist. Okay, appealing to an overheated nationalism, William Randolph Hearst used his newspaper empire to campaign. Oh, we just talked about that with Phil this morning. To campaign successfully against U.S. participation in the League of Nations. Soon thereafter, he became a booster of nationalist fanatics, the rising fascist powers. Hearst newspapers with America First emblazoned on their masthead celebrated what they called the great achievement of the new Nazi regime in Germany in 1934. See if they've got a cover on one of these. Nope, they just go to him. Okay. I wish they had an image of it. I'll see if I can find one. Chat room, hold on. Hearst newspaper, America First image. Where is it? The New York Journal Citizen Hearst. These are all artwork. Let's see, they war on yellow papers. Wilson clears U.S. no mystery. Spain guilty. Oh, it's just I'm okay. America. The problem with America First as a phrase. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this link. J'accuse. All right, now it's going into Google sucks. I will find these. Okay, the first committee, maybe that's it. Yeah, here you go. This is the America First committee. Wikipedia. This is the conservative leadership. See if here's a image of them. Hold on one second. Plus. There we go. This guy right here. America First rally. This time, let's stay out of Europe's war. Make America safe for democracy. Philip La Follette of Wisconsin, John T. Flynn of New York, April 4th, 8 p.m. at the Municipal Auditorium. Everyone joined from the auspices of the America First Committee. America First, folks. A rally to rally everybody who's rallying. Trump didn't invent America First. He didn't come up with it at all. And as a matter of fact, it gained his attention through Stephen Miller and others as a way of keeping us. Oh, my God, Jen. Thank you so much. Thank you. Here you go. Hold on. Back to these dipshits.
And I think his foreign policy.
By the way, this is the end of this. They've got like 30 seconds left or something like that. Maybe less.
Has been vigorously protecting that. And I agree with the president.
Good. Well, I appreciate your taking all this time.
Sure.
And I know you didn't mean it. When you call me those names. Thank you, Senator.
I know you didn't mean it when you called me those names. Right. Because we're both bullshitters. That's why he said that. Because like everything else.
That was just bullshit, Joel.
Uh-huh. Now, real quick, there are. Do I have time for? Yeah, I do. Okay. That was a long one, but I think valuable because it not only gave you a picture of where the MAGA fight is actually happening, and you could see how they manipulate the language around it and shape everything that they say in a way that manipulates their own specific audiences. Remember, Ted Cruz has a shitty little podcast too. Anyway, so yes, it was very weird and creepy. Jesus. Now, can we take a little aperitif and enjoy ourselves even more with the most miserable man on the internet? Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, it's him. It's Greg Kelly. Iran has been our enemy for a very long time. Can anybody guess? We're not going to do this whole thing either because fuck him. But anybody have any idea what side, because he gets basically like 3 minutes in and starts to try and blame it on Biden, right? Yeah.
Okay, before we get all freaked out about World War III.
Why would you wait? Why, if World War III is happening, why would you take a pause before getting freaked out? I mean, if it's actually happening, why wouldn't you just go ahead and get freaked out, Greg? You fucking smegma. All right.
Potentially.
Potentially.
I don't think it's going to happen. I actually think we're in a good spot. Somewhat worrisome.
Oh, God, this is so good. Keep forgetting I'm on camera and saying this and people are supposed to believe me. And I've got a show to do tomorrow and Trump might step down and run off with a bunch of money, but I'm fucked. I got to take the bus home tonight.
Let's just, for a moment, celebrate a war where America has had a
Jesus Christ. Yeah, let's celebrate.
Complete and total victory thus far. I'm talking about the southern border. Wow. 1 year ago, May of 2024, that's what we have the numbers for. 62,000 illegal entries into the United States.
And just as many expulsions.
A year later, zero. A big
Gee, it's almost as if they stopped counting entirely. Unless you, of course, believe that. Remember when Trump was the guy who was like, we wouldn't have so many COVID cases if we weren't testing everybody. So you're just going to believe these numbers? Excellent. Also, why is the amount of fentanyl available in the country not gone down? If there are 0 people sneaking across, oh, Joy, my God, thank you. If there are 0 people crossing the border, why is the amount of fentanyl in the United States not gone down? Why is the price not gone up? We covered that last week.
At 0. You like that kind of 0. Isn't that incredible? And all that stuff. If they only would pass the bipartisan legislation, give me a break. We have all these beautiful laws on the books. Just execute the chief.
Yeah, but if you're going to put soldiers along basically every foot of the wall and everywhere that there's a port to keep these numbers at 0, you have to pay for them to be there. You got to house them, you got to feed them, and that requires Congress to fund it. You do have to pass a bill, dummy. We had one.
Chief Executive Officer, the executive.
You know what? Fuck it. There's a certain point where Trump's going to declare emergency for everything and get the funding there, just like George W. Bush did with the Iraq War. And you could argue that every day that Trump is president is a fucking emergency. So fill your boots.
And it happened, and the results are awesome. Lots of work to do, right? Inside the country, but what a beautiful start. All right, now, the world stuff.
Yeah, let's take a moment because that part's awesome. So don't get upset. This is really working out, even though he keeps asking for funding, and I don't know why he would if there's all sorts of laws on the books, and all you got to do is enforce them.
And this crazy tweet and statement from Iranian state media. Tonight, a great surprise will occur, one that the world will remember for centuries.
Oh, I love surprises. Not this kind usually. But Greg, by the way, when was this? This was posted 18 hours ago. Maybe it's a time thing. Maybe there's a time difference. Maybe that's probably what it is. Does anybody know what the great surprise was? Oh, I mean, I don't want to shake the president. It might blow up.
All right. Do we take them literally? Do we take them seriously? I think we have to. What do we do?
hi, asshole. Literally and seriously would be basically the same thing in this context. Literally and figuratively. I mean, you guys have a problem with that. The same problem you seem to have with sexual consent. How's that whole thing with your dad clearing out those rape charges against you working? Is that a thing? You fixed that, did you? Good to hear. Good to hear.
I don't know. There are a few options. Whatever President
Gee, I wonder what the option you're going to promote is. Fuck. Does anybody know?
Trump does here, though, whether we elect to help Israel bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran, or if we don't, I actually really trust President Trump to make the right call. There are...
Shocking. What would the right call be? I have no idea. Whatever call he makes, that's the right one. I'm just going to assume.
There are a lot of people in print and on television and...
How motorcycle on K on the road, Pecos in the house, and these people are stooges. Agreed. Thank you.
All over the place, saying exactly what they think needs to be done. I know this. Nobody I've been listening to has the information that he has.
Or pays less attention to it.
You'll notice that a lot of the prime movers in the
these fuckers
are keeping somewhat quiet, quieter than normal as they...
Because normally they're loud as shit, and you still can't figure out. Well, never mind. Let me just enjoy the ignorance here.
What exactly to do? They have access to intelligence and to information that we just don't have, and that's fine. I'm not complaining. I am confident that President Trump will do the right thing for America.
Yeah, that's the only reason you do your show, dummy.
And maybe that is supporting Israel. Maybe that is supporting Israel by not bombing Iran. I don't know. I know this, that is...
Thanks. I'm so glad I tuned in, Greg. I always feel so much better, and there's so much clarity that comes...
Israel has never had a greater friend in any president than Donald Trump.
By the way, serious issues, not serious people. Don't get caught up. Don't believe the hype. Don't think because they're talking about serious things that are happening in the world that these assholes deserve your emotions in any way. This is absurd. The idea that anybody would go to Greg Kelly to figure out what the fuck Trump is talking about when he doesn't even know is hilarious.
Bibi Netanyahu has made that clear.
Netanyahu. I didn't realize you spoke with a Castilian Spanish accent there, Greg. How very sexy of you.
Here they are at a regular kind of briefing, but...
The regular kind of briefing. Sorry. What does the other briefing look like? Just a bunch of fucking...
We know that there is such genuine warmth.
Ew. Weird picture choice. Just saying.
Between the two. And quite frankly, Bibi can get on Donald Trump's nerves from time to time, but...
Thank you for your frankness. Jesus.
The faithfulness, the allegiance between Israel and the United States is unshakable, and
I'm still yours, faithfully.
I think people in both countries understand that.
Yeah, we're everybody's on the same page. That's the great thing about all Israelis and all Americans. We just fold in behind our leader and go, whatever you say, please solve it, smarter than I, oh great Lord of intellect.
So, real briefly, the case for war.
Oh my God. Really briefly. Great. I hate waiting. One of the worst things that can happen when you need the case for war is that somebody draws it out and gives me a lot of details. Just whip this shit out.
And I want to put war in quotes because...
well, you can't. It's too late. We already made the graphic, Greg. Fuck you.
If we actually get involved in this thing, I don't think it's going to be all out. Right, folks? It's not going to be like... it's not going to be World War III, I hope.
This is so pitiful. This is so fucking pathetic. Oh my God. the case for war in quotes. And if we get involved, I don't think it'll be all out. And like World War III, I hope. Jesus. Can you imagine being like a maggot at home watching this and going, "Hun, Greg Kelly's on. We're going to learn the real stuff." Oh my God. You hope? What does he want to do? I don't understand. Doesn't he have Trump's phone number? He loves him so much. Why don't they talk? Right.
But we have to take them very, very seriously.
Yeah, we do. We totally do. Yeah, let's take them very seriously. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, we got to take them very seriously. Who's them? Can we put them in quotes too?
Iran. And if Israel...
Okay, good. I was curious. I didn't know who the them was.
...needs us, well, look at the way they've been talking about us in Iran for a long time now. They want...
Yeah, they're still doing it today. I didn't even think you have to go back. They just told you basically they're going to do something horrible.
Us and our friends in Israel dead, to not exist anymore.
Yeah!
Earlier, dozens of Iranian lawmakers chanted "Death to America" as
January 2020. Who was president January of 2020? Does anybody remember? I can't. It was so long ago. Were we ever so young?
They met in Parliament.
Iran's hardliners flexing their muscles.
So it's not a whole country full of hardliners? Excellent.
Screaming death.
So wait a minute. Mac, you can't call Greg the Great Satan. He's not great at anything.
To America and death to Israel at Tehran's main Friday prayers.
Wow. They've been...
Yeah. Imagine how Greg feels when he sits on a bus and a woman in a hijab comes in.
Doing that since I was in the 4th grade. Death to America. Death to Israel.
Well, you're still mentally in the 4th grade, so I can't imagine. You must be living like a Groundhog Day if your body aged.
Yeah, literally, since I was in the 4th grade. And now that they have been saying that for so long.
Maybe it was because of something you did in the 4th grade?
And even last year, I was hearing they're like days away from getting a nuclear weapon. That's right. I mean, Democrats and Republicans alike. They're basically here. They basically have one.
Where we are now is not in a good place. Instead of being at least a year away from having the breakout capacity of producing fissile material for a nuclear weapon, is now probably 1 or 2 weeks away from doing that.
That's Tony Blinken.
And by the way, they did it at that point. So for the record, Blinken was right. They did produce. They have to produce a lot more because they still have to do tests and they have to have enough to actually do the weapons themselves. Crossing that line is not enough. You have to start producing it. That's why you need these facilities. Okay, just for the record, this idea that they're like, that never happened. They've been saying about this for years. They led it up to, they got the trigger mechanism. Then they got the missiles. Now they have the fissile material. So and again, don't expect actually any details from this decade.
When the heck was that? It was 2024.
Right. They had slowed that process down to a crawl when we had a nuclear deal and then Trump threw it out the fucking window.
Okay, a couple of weeks. Well, it's been almost a year since then. So that is very, very uneasy. Again,
that is very uneasy.
Dum 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 stupid dumb silly stupid dum 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 dopey dippy dum dum stupid really dumb dum 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 dum.
Iran has been our enemy for a long, long time.
A long, long time. They're not like us for a long time.
Remembers, were they old enough to remember when they took our hostages and kept them for 440?
Wait, they took our hostages? We had hostages and they took them? I want our hostages back so we can have hostages. Wait, were they their own people? Why'd they give them back to us? If they're our hostages, were we taking our own people hostage? Sorry, they took our citizens hostage.
4 days. It's not like a lot has actually transpired in Iran since then. I'll get to that in a second. Iran, not only did they take our hostages, not only have they been fueling terror all around the world for decades, They also targeted U.S. troops in Iraq. Remember those horrible IEDs?
Yes, it's 3 letters. You don't have to take that long to say them.
They were being built and sent over the Iran-Iraq border. They were behind it, a lot of that stuff. And as far as who's been running the show in Iran, it hasn't been many people. First,
sorry, they did all that stuff, and so Trump came in and didn't attack them right away, even though they'd been doing all this stuff? He's been wanting to make a deal with them this whole time, and they did that? See the conflict?
There was the Ayatollah Khomeini, right? Very, very bad guy, succeeded by...
I mean, yeah. And by the way, is that a new hat, or is it time to change the bandage?
The Ayatollah Khomeini, I believe is how you pronounce the next guy's name.
And with a name like that, you'd think he'd be a lot more fun.
And they're both bad dudes. So 2 individuals,
yes, looking very similar. Obviously, there's some sort of... do we have sort of a Dick Sargent York? What's up on Bewitched situation?
Democratic leaders of...
Maybe they chose this guy because, maybe they assumed the Russian or the Iranians wouldn't know the difference. Same guy? Oh my God, this guy lives forever.
Of Iran have watched all these presidents come and go. Khomeini, 3 presidents while he was ruling. And then the next guy, Khamenei, how many presidents have come and gone? I think President Trump is the one who's going to bring this in for a landing. Okay.
All right. Well, there we go. Greg Kelly apparently is making the case for war, and even if there isn't one, he thinks Trump is going to bring about regime change in Iran.
Okay, because Israel right now is incredibly vulnerable. I know they have the best military...
Yeah, unlike every day since their existence.
In the world, and, well, second best.
But how about before the Iron Dome was built, dummy?
But look at what they're up against. The entire Arab world sometimes. That's what it's felt like for Israel for most of its history. The Arab world is huge.
Greg, real quick, if you could, next time, don't bring your kids' map of the Middle East that comes in puzzle form. Use one that, this is a serious news program, would you please? Thank you.
I saw Bibi Netanyahu do this once. Take that full if you don't mind. He takes his hand and he places it over the map, right? Look at this. This is the Arab world, everybody, okay? Arab world. And then another hand can take up the second half of the Arab world. Israel.
So it's 2 Arab worlds, or 1 big Arab world, or Greg had pancakes today. That's why he's full of gas.
Israel
right?
is basically right there, a fingernail. 2 hands versus a fingernail. Israel is the size of roughly New Jersey.
And New Jersey can be pretty rough.
It's a very, very tiny country.
Aw.
Right? That's, wow, it's up against a lot. And so far...
Thanks for putting New Jersey next to it. I don't know how New Jersey ended up in Transjordan, but okay.
Boy.
Or in Jordan.
They have been... They've been inflicting major damage on Iran. Take a look at these statistics so far.
Yeah, that's a shot of them blowing up a U.S. F-14, which nobody knows quite how they got it.
They've gotten rid of all those major
There's another one.
generals and scientists, 20 senior military commanders. Excellent. Next, please. They struck Iran's main uranium enrichment facility at Natanz. Okay, keep going. Destroyed a third of Iran's missile launchers. And we're up against something, though, tougher.
Uh-oh, something tough. Here it comes.
Than we may have thought in this next nuclear facility. It's underground. It's tough to actually take out. But if we do take it out, it's not going to be like the Iraq War when we invaded.
No, it's not. Stop saying it's going to be, Tucker.
Remember all the thousands and thousands of troops?
Yes, yeah, because we weren't going up against a nuclear facility. That wasn't the point.
We had to put over there, both for the first Gulf War and the second Gulf War.
Maybe the third. Maybe this is the third Gulf War. Maybe it's Gulf War III instead of World War III.
100 to 200,000 troops, thousands of planes, aircraft carriers.
Ready to, eat meals. Yeah, meals ready to eat. I guess MREs. The occasional turkey.
All this stuff.
Bob Hope.
If we actually come to Israel's aid, we might just be able to do it with one airplane, the B-2 stealth bomber.
Well, 15 of them, but sure.
Drop the banner at the bottom if you would. There it
yeah. You can't see the bomb, dickhead.
is, dropping a bunker buster is what it's called.
Yeah, it's dropping the kids off at the pool.
The B-2, let's see, I'm told by military experts, people
Ooh, experts. We're going to hear some good stuff.
in the know, it would
People who know this shit.
only take maybe 4 missions, 4 flights of the B-2 to finish the job.
Wait, 4 each? Because I've seen as many as 20 planes that would be necessary for this. Never mind the security for these planes, because they would have other planes around them to protect them as they did their bombing run. We'll just have to go and we'll just have to bomb Iran 4 times.
At that crazy base in the middle of Iran.
Oh, look at that. 4 pictures of the same thing in a row. I had no idea it was so easy.
Where they have all the nuclear sensitive stuff.
Yeah, that stuff. Thank you. Did you get that from the experts as well? Nuclear sensitive stuff.
Underground. They need this buster that goes through.
Yeah, Dave & Buster's. I think they have to airdrop a Dave & Buster's. I think actually there's a case to be made that we'd be better off just dropping a bunch of Dave & Buster's all over Iran and going, hey, we don't really need to kill you guys. We could just distract you with upright video games.
Ground and
cheese sticks and marinara dip.
Keeps going. Take a look at this footage if you would. This is a B-2 dropping one of these great big bunker busters. It falls.
Oh my God, I think I'm gonna come. That's what he's hoping for from the audience. That's what. Oh wow, Carl, get in here! Get in here! Look at the size of this thing. Yeah. It looks like a pregnant manta ray taking a shit, and it's one of those pointy shits.
Gravity makes it go even faster.
Just when I think he can't be stupider, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself. Gravity makes it go faster.
And when it hits the ground,
faster than slow motion.
The key is this: it doesn't.
It goes boom.
Actually explode.
Yeah, I know. It drills into the ground and then it goes boom.
It plows into the ground very, very deep. Now, we don't know exactly how deep. That's a little bit classified, but take it full. You're about to see it go into the ground.
Oh, hold on. Boom. Squish, squish. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the war porn part of our program this evening. Yes, you've been asking for it. Some of you fast-forwarded past the dialogue just to this point, and shame on you. These are actors.
And that's not an explosion. That's kind of...
It's the closest thing. This all came from Greg Kelly's Pornhub search results.
Kicking up the dirt. And it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And
he's afraid that people are going to think, oh my God, what a terribly small explosion compared to other things.
And it explodes. So they have all their secret nuclear stuff way underground. And that...
Ooh, the secret nuclear stuff. Easy with the jargon.
That B-2 bomber could actually do it from the middle of the country. It will take off from Missouri, no kidding, from Missouri.
Don't kid about taking off from Missouri.
And fly all the way around the world.
Maybe the Missouri?
And be able to take this thing out. It's just an incredible machine, the B-2 bomber. Let's take another look at it if you don't mind. It's going to...
Yeah, let's take another. Come on.
Take off from Missouri in the middle of the country, fly...
Is that squishy? Wait, is that sound Greg Kelly loosening his fucking belt? Hold on.
Look at it if you don't mind.
Listen.
It's going to take off from Missouri in the...
Starting to fidget in his chair. Are you getting a semi there, Greg?
Middle of the country, fly all the way over to Iran, drop the bomb.
I hope not, but...
I'll have to refuel in flight 4 times or so.
4 times per 4 missions. They go all the way back to Missouri. This is so fucking stupid.
But it's doable, and it's not a commitment of 100,000 troops. Maybe that's the option. Maybe that's the way we will go.
Yeah, and maybe I'm a Chinese jet pilot.
Then again, maybe there's a case to be made for not bombing. And you're hearing that from some parts of MAGA. The case
for not bombing.
For not bombing Iran seems to be pretty strong. And a lot of MAGA superstars like Tucker Carlson.
Oh, dear.
Let's face it, well, the president called him kooky the other day. Maybe
Yes, let's face the fact that he called him kooky the other day. And Greg Kelly, you don't want to venture into the area where you want to be called kooky by the president. That would be almost like finding out he's not your real dad.
Is a little bit out there. I have a theory why Tucker is so reluctant, however, and a lot of other people in MAGA, to take on Iran like this.
Because they're in Russia's pocket, and that's Russia's main supplier of arms right now.
We all like America first, right? President Trump.
Oh yeah, we love it.
Coined the phrase.
No, he didn't. We dealt with this already today once. Yeah, the phrase was around for a long time. Two words slapped together, not that surprising. But the Ku Klux Klan, sorry, I don't want to offend those guys, and the American Nazi Party were big fans of it. They're the ones who made it into a real slogan leading up to World War II, saying basically, let the Jews get killed. We got better, shit to do, bigger fish to fry.
And it works for me.
I will put America first. And
yeah, you do realize there's a difference between saying it and actually doing it.
that's the way it is. We'll stop throwing our money overseas, and we're going to let our country benefit. We're going to put America first. We'll put America first, but because we're putting it first, we're doing so well, there's going to be plenty left over to help the world.
So we aren't.
America first, and we're going to make America great again.
Makes sense. But America...
Greg was literally making the hand gestures along with him. Like, I do hands like daddy.
First doesn't mean, I heard somebody say, America first doesn't mean America only. We have a very strong and important ally in Israel, and I could not imagine the world without Israel. I couldn't imagine America without Israel. Now, one of the reasons why
Well, then why don't we make them the 51st state like he was planning on doing with Canada? Why don't we just incorporate them? And then that would be the U.S. territory of Israel, but it would be their, you could give them a special, I don't know, statehood that allows them to have their own government, but it's technically U.S. territory. And then if anybody attacks them, it's an attack on us. It's kind of like our own Article 5. Shit or get off the pot, dummy.
The MAGA people are saying no to this is because, well, they have memories of the Iraq War, 2003 to 2011, and it was...
You mean when they supported it?
...was a disaster. And a lot of the people who say we should not take military action right now in Iran in coordination with Israel are the same people, like Tucker, I like Tucker, but who said we should go into Iraq. A lot of folks, right? That was the thing to do. If you were...
I didn't do it, so it wasn't.
Republican and you were against the Iraq War, you weren't really a Republican in 2003 and 2004. President Trump wasn't a Republican in 2003 and 2004.
No, he was just a serial sexual assaulter and a failed businessman who had a TV show where he was a game show host.
And that's why he could say this and mean it and never have been for that war. It's a myth that he told Howard Stern he was for it. Total.
Nope, he just said you had to do it. What's the difference?
Lie. He was always against it.
Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, all right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. Took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives.
Six.
We don't even have
even at that point.
Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world. Obviously, it was a mistake. So George Bush made a mistake. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized.
By the way, he also followed that up with, but if we were going to go in, we should keep the oil. We should have invaded and took over the territory. He wasn't anti-Iraq war. He was anti-non-imperialism.
The Middle East.
I guess he's still pissed that we don't own Germany and Japan too.
So a lot of people remember that. He was right. He is right. And a lot of folks in MAGA land who were for the Iraq war think...
Yes, these would be the trains that I said were leaving the station that are going to crash.
That it's like post-traumatic stress from being so wrong about Iraq. So...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Tucker has an illness. And thank God Dr. Kelly is here to, help him out, I suppose.
Moon River.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
We'll see. I'm also hearing that inside Israel, it's not unanimous that they want America to join in this fight directly by sending American bombers. That's not a done deal by any means, and there's often a lot of conflict in that Israeli Knesset and in Israeli politics. There's another thing to this. It's a preemptive war. That kind of spooks people a little bit. Preemptive.
Yeah, it's already happening, though.
Just like Iraq. Preemptive war. Maybe Israel.
Yeah, against that too. And
Israel also doesn't need us. Did you hear? This is the Israeli ambassador to America, and he said there's something really big coming, and it's going to surprise the hell out of the Iranians.
Which is also what the Ayatollah said, I think.
Say that, please.
No.
We've pulled off a number of surprises. When the dust settles, you're going to see some surprises on Thursday night and Friday that will make the beeper operation almost seem simple.
So that was when they...
That's tomorrow and Friday.
Sent in all the beepers to Hezbollah, and they were like, hello, and boom, the phone...
Yes, anybody who answers a beeper by holding it up to their head and going hello deserves to be killed. I'm just going to say it now. Anyone who has a beeper for years and goes, hello... Why do I never... yeah, that's how beepers work, Greg. Thanks very much. Welcome to Greg Kelly is actually a grandma from 1991.
Up in there. Well... Right.
Your beeper is ringing. Do you want me to answer it? No, leave it down, Grandma. I'm a weed dealer.
Right next to their head, and it killed a lot of people. A lot of...
Nobody put a beeper next to their head, stupid. It blew their fucking bowels out, you weirdo.
High-value military targets. What is he talking about? I don't know, but it sounds...
Obviously you don't know, Greg. That's the nature of the show. Greg Kelly has no idea what the fuck is going on. Greg Kelly, this is the Greg Kelly Show, ladies and gentlemen, which should be titled, Greg Kelly is,
Dum, 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 dum. Dum, dum, stupid. Dumb, silly, stupid, dumb, dumb.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty awesome.
It sounds pretty awesome. What does? Holy shit. Now, Trump actually answered some questions, I think, today, so we'll see what he's actually saying. I've got to say, we still have a situation where somebody in the White House hates this fucker, and the still frame, or Forbes, that they're grabbing, they're trying to, and again, I don't think he takes a good picture, but they're certainly not doing him any favors by making him look this shitty. Here we go. He hosts the Juventus team in the Oval Office.
Thank you very much. We have a great team behind us. Juventus of Italy.
Juventus.
And a friend of mine is the owner of the team. He's a fantastic business person, a young guy, and I think it's got the longest string of ownership of just about any sports franchise, but it does have the record in soccer. It's John Elkman. I think you know John Elkman is...
Sorry, who?
John Elkman. I think you know John Elkman is...
I know who? He's a friend of yours? Really good friend of yours? You know this dude? His name is what?
John Elkman. I think you know John Elkman is...
I don't know. I'm not familiar with either of these gentlemen.
In soccer, it's John Elkman. I think you know John Elkman is...
Hold on. Oh, I don't have a nut warning on this one. I'm sorry, I haven't set that up. I probably should, but hold on. Yeah, here we go. Sorry. There we go. Nut warning. It's all cockeyed. Sorry, my bad. I have to rearrange it for this screen. But at the very least, we gotta pass this along. So people, if you were caught off guard by the appearance of Trump's nunt, I apologize. It's wrong, and I'll do better next time to make sure that you're warned when it will make an appearance. You can just kind of assume it, but I think it's still
Is a man that has done a fantastic job in the
It's two men, actually.
automobile industry, comes from a lineage
Thanks, Marcia. It is a great live stream. It happens to be the greatest live stream in the history of live streams. I'm Hal Sparks, and this is Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Gleam effect.
of winners. And you have Johnny Infantino, as you know, and he's going to have the World Cup here. We have a game tonight. The game is, where is it, over in D.C., the stadium?
Here, yeah, Holyfield.
And it's totally sold out, I hope.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, good. Well, and you have two great American players on this team. And would you just, where are you, my American players? Fantastic, so good luck.
Thank you.
I hope you're going to be the two best players on the field. Okay? Well, I just thought you might want to ask questions.
He was like, he totally was like caught off by the fact it's the black guys.
Anything about the World Cup or the game tonight, but anything about the World Cup.
No, it is not sold out. They can't give away tickets. Yeah, I know. It's soccer.
Would be great, and Johnny's right here. So, anybody have any questions?
Why would they have any questions for him?
And I hope you like the. Well, I'm a little, you know, he's a friend of mine. It's hard to go again.
Which one is Elkin or Elkman?
To be honest with you, but they have a good team. Who are you playing tonight?
We're playing against the Emirati team.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
strong.
good. Well, they spend a lot of money, right? They spend a lot of money. Yeah, it's probably. Is it a strong team? Good team tonight? Yeah,
All teams are good. It's the best teams in the world. We're here in America.
Right, Johnny? You think?
Best teams in the world are here.
Well, we raised the American flag for you guys today.
Well, it's quite a historic day.
Looks nice out there, doesn't it? Beautiful.
He put two flagpoles on either side of the Capitol or the White House building because he thought we needed them for something.
Even you agree, right? I think so. Do you agree? No. Most of you.
He just saw something in one of the buildings and he thought there should be a flagpole on either side of it. It's very weird.
Agree. So, do you have any questions, please?
Do you know the latest on the evacuations out of Israel, Mr. President? Have
No.
you been updated on that?
No, we're having a meeting in an hour. Have a meeting
Yeah, they're evacuations. They'll hold.
downstairs in one.
They'll wait.
Yeah.
Mr. President, on Iran, if regime change does happen there, if the regime falls, do you have a plan for what you think would happen?
I have a plan for everything, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I have a plan for everything. I'm not going to tell you what that plan is because it doesn't exist. But
Got a ways to go. They should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that.
What was that deal? How was that different from Obama's deal? What was the deal? Oh, I'm just kidding. Of course, there was no deal.
Deal. 60 days. We talked about it, and in the end,
Here's the deal: totally dismantle. Fuck off. That was the deal. What do you guys give? Nothing. You can do that, or we're going to bomb you.
they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it, and they want to meet. But
thank you, Catherine. That's true. I think it's important that our next president can sing very well. I think Obama did okay, but he's a kind of standard baritone, and was a little, I think, tepid in his singing, and he could have been more forceful. He's got a good voice. You got to sell it.
it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's.
You're not bringing the fucking Ayatollah or the president of Iran to the White House.
It's a shit.
Now. You're not doing it. They would be stupid to come. Their plane would get shot out of the fucking air.
It could have been done the easy way.
What happened to Trump's hair? He got a haircut.
Do you think the regime there could fall?
Sure. Anything could happen, right? Of that?
Well, I mean, I think the chances of a society-ending meteorite hitting there or the return of the plagues from the Bible is fairly slim. So, no, not anything.
Sure, that could happen. Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, the Senate Judiciary Committee is holding a hearing on who exactly was running the White House under Joe Biden. Who do you think that was?
I think the auto pen ran the White House. We have an auto pen president before me.
And you used the auto pen to sign all the pardons for the Jan 6ers.
I think it's one of the greatest scandals in the history of this country. One of the.
Of course you do, because you're bilking the American taxpayer right now and funding all these programs for your buddies and bringing your buddies' investment teams into the White House to give them free promotion or some shit or whatever, and they buy a bunch of your crypto and allow you to do this.
Biggest scandals. He wasn't making a decision. He was never for open borders where people came in from all over the world from prison.
Oh, then I guess you owe him an apology.
And gangs and drug dealers and all of that. The mentally insane. He was never for that. He was never for
Is there a physically insane?
open borders, and he was never for, if you think, he was never for transgender for everybody, or men playing in women's sports.
These are his 3 callbacks, by the way. He does this all the time.
You know, he was never for that. Have you ever had women? Could a woman make your team, fellas? Tell me. You think?
Leave them out of it.
No, you're being nice. What do you think? Think a woman could make the team? General managers, what do you think?
Difficult.
You don't say it. Close.
We have a very good women's team now.
You do have, right? Yeah. But they should be playing with women, right?
Maybe just leave them the fuck out of it. Of course, they showed up and your buddy brought him in there. So suck it up, guys. You're standing behind this guy. It's more than just a photo op.
You know, it's one of those things. One of those things. See, they're very diplomatic.
As you're making your decision on Iran, obviously there's been a change from when you were pursuing a diplomatic negotiation.
Yeah.
Now you seem very open to the idea of potentially taking U.S. action. Obviously, you're not going to tell us that. Can you walk us through what contributed to that change, how you got to where you are in making your decision now?
Well, I think it started the first night. I mean, you know, that first night was devastating.
You mean the election night? Sure.
And it really knocked the one side off, as you know. It was a devastating evening, day. And it pretty much proceeded that way. I have a meeting in the war room in a little while.
Yeah, it can wait. He's got to meet with a soccer team owned by a friend of his.
Situation room, as some people call it.
Everybody calls it that.
So we're going to meet. We're going to see. We're in the midst of it. It's a terrible thing. I hate to say.
I suppose there's a point where the situation room becomes the war room because it's war is the actual situation in this. I think, right? Let's see.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Right.
And I hate to see all that death. So much death and destruction.
Yeah, the death.
But death primarily is what I
yeah, the destruction, I'm on the fence about that.
hate to see.
Does that mean you haven't made a decision yet on what to do?
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, you know, because things change. I mean, especially with war, things change with war.
Great. I think that makes us all feel a lot better, that these are impulse decisions based on when he thinks the last thing has happened. Right before the decision has to be made. When the fuck is that? That's not a thing, right? There's always something right after that moment that could change that moment. What he means is he waits till everybody around him is all on board because they're all acting the same way and saying, we got to do this right now. If we're going to do it, holy shit, this is bad. We got to do it. And he'll go, yeah, do that. And then it's their fucking fault. That's what he means.
It can go from one extreme to the other. War is very bad. There was no reason for this to be a war. There was no reason for Russia, Ukraine.
I agree. Russia should have fucked off to start with.
Wars there was no reason for. You know? You look right up there. I don't know. See the Declaration of Independence. And
oh dear.
Say, I wonder if the Civil War always seemed to me maybe that could have been solved without.
Holy shit. Okay, first of all, the Declaration of Independence wasn't a result of the Civil War, you fucking old fart. Secondly, no. We weren't going to negotiate on slavery.
Losing 600,000 plus people.
Yeah, you don't think they tried? They passed laws, they did all kinds of stuff. The abolitionists pushed for it for a very long time, even down there. Some of them got killed while they were pushing abolitionism in the South. What a fucking... yeah, he actually said that. This isn't, by the way, Mad Mac, this is not the first time he's actually said this. Remember this? He said this before.
So, a lot of... it's very sad to see. It's very sad to see what's happening. But with that being said, I would say right now, Israel, from the standpoint of winning a war, is doing pretty well. Yeah, please.
You have no idea. There's salvos back and forth. And yes, their attacks have been particularly effective. But Iran doesn't care about civilian casualties, so they're just going to bomb the whole fucking country at some point. So no.
President, in your meeting today
Name bug adjustment needed? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Did it move over? Sorry about that. I thought I fixed this last time. Weep. Thank you.
The chief of staff of the Pakistani army, did you talk about Iran? Did that come up? Is there anything you can share from that meeting?
Yeah. Well, they know Iran very well, better than most. And
What are they, golf?
And
Okay. Thank you.
they're not happy about anything. It's not that they're bad with Israel. They know them both, actually, but they're probably, maybe they know Iran better. But they see what's going on, and he agreed with me. The reason I had him here, I wanted to thank him for not going into the war.
Yeah. Oh, so Rob Glenn says, so Biden's actions 2 decades ago caused Putin to invade Ukraine. Yeah. Yeah. There's a time fold in maggotdom.
Just, ending the war. And I want to thank, as you know, Prime Minister Modi just left, just a little while ago, just left. And we're working a trade deal with India. We're working a trade deal with Pakistan. And they were both here. But I was with Modi a few weeks ago. He was here, actually. But now we speak to him. And I'm so happy. There was a deal that 2 smart people, plus, they have people on their staff too, but 2 smart people, 2 very smart people decided not to keep going with that war. That could have been a nuclear war. Those are 2 nuclear powers, big ones, big nuclear powers. And they decided not. So I was
Yeah, he's starting to get that Biden age rasp.
Honored to meet him today.
And if that counts, sir.
You can tell he's over it right now. I will say also that there's a mix of thought about this dipshit currently. And one of the ideas is that he doesn't have to run again, so he doesn't give a shit. He can just go for it and do whatever he wants to do. And the other is, once he's out of there, he's no longer president and no longer has the power to protect himself or his family from any reciprocity that might come from, or attacks that might come from Democrats in office or foreign leaders who have whatever he did while he was in office, they blame him for it, right? So there's an upside and a downside to him no longer being president or this being his final term. And as much as he jokes about a 3rd term, isn't happening. He doesn't have he's too old, he's too worn down. It's not going to fucking happen. Again, this would be a situation where they would, in theory, run him like Biden, and Vance would pull a Harris, what they were saying was going to happen. He'll run, he'll win, he'll step down in the next year, and then the other guy will take over. This is the storyline that they're also pushing around. But he doesn't trust Vance right now, and he doesn't trust all those guys who hooked him up with Elon Musk. The Diet Coke guy, that's Walt Nada, he's just off camera. Walt is always in eye line of Trump in these situations.
And for anyone who may want to answer,
unless he's, hosing down yesterday's diaper because Trump likes to reuse them because they're broken in.
Has the travel bans from certain countries affected fans maybe coming in for the games, or is that not a consideration?
Johnny, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not a concern for us. For the games now in the Club World Cup.
Yeah, gee, there's no travel ban on Italy, dummy.
Everything has been done in a very smooth way. We have an excellent collaboration, of course, with the president, but with the task force in particular. For next year, the World Cup, we have 1 more year to work, and the learnings that we have this year with the Club World Cup, which is historic, I say this to all the Americans.
Also, most of the countries that they're talking about don't have world-class teams anyways, right? I mean, maybe one of them has a team that might be in there, but none of them are in the fucking World Cup next year.
Americans, because it's the first.
That's how they think they're going to avoid this problem.
Ever Club World Cup, and it's played in the United States of America. So the learnings we'll have for this will apply them next year.
And they're largely sold out, so I don't know. I don't think he's too worried about the travel ban. He doesn't know what the travel ban is, I don't think. Johnny, tell me what.
Why'd you fucking ask him about it, stupid?
The travel ban is. He doesn't know what it is. He's largely sold out. Like tonight is totally. I've had friends, they heard about this
Nope.
meeting. They said, can you give me tickets? I don't know if I can get tickets. He won't give them to me.
We can speak.
Maybe John will give them to me. Yeah, please.
Which John?
2 questions, if I could. One about Iran and then one domestically. With Iran, what's your message to Americans, both here and abroad, who are not only concerned about the U.S. potentially getting involved in another conflict in the Middle East, but worry about the potential for retaliation here at home?
Yeah. Well, I don't want to get involved either, but I've been saying for 20 years, maybe longer, that
Iran can't have a nuclear bomb, and it's final.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I've been saying it for a long time, and I think they were a few weeks away from having one. And they had to sign a document. I think they wish they signed it now. It was a fair deal. And now it's a harder thing to sign, you know. It's a lot of water over the dam. But, you know, it's very, I say it very simply. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Too much.
Yes, everything about you is simple.
Devastation. And they'd use it. You know, I believe they'd use it. Others won't use it, but I believe they'd use it. So that's it.
Thank you, LD.
It's very simple as far as I'm concerned. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
And then domestically, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley came out this week as the lead sponsor of a bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. It stands out because he's a Republican.
Yeah. You think the cuts are happening in his states? What the hell? By the way, I don't even know that we addressed that. Hold on. This is going to catch him off guard. So, hold on. That's interesting that Josh Hawley did that, right? Co-sponsored by Democratic Senator Peter Welch of Vermont, they're going to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. The bill, titled Higher Wages for American Workers Act, would double it. Hawley has co-sponsored it. Here you go. This is, let me open this up for you. This is, yeah, we didn't even get a chance because there's so much shit going on, a chance to cover this. This is what he's talking about. This is why the 50, whoops, I got to shrink this down so you can read it. This is why a $15 minimum wage is getting love from some Republicans. A bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour from $7.25 is back, but you might be surprised who's leading the charge. Republican Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri. Remember when I told you guys that if once Republicans actually have real power and they have to produce something and they can't just be, you know, they can't just yell no or shut shit down, and that's enough. Once they actually have to govern, they start sounding a lot like Democrats, right? Shifts in state and local minimum wages, however, as well as the broader economy, show how Hawley's involvement makes sense both for his home state and for the country. Experts say a conservative advocate sponsoring the bill could help the chances of finally getting a federal wage hike for the first time in 16 years. Given the fact that it's a Republican leading this legislation, there's certainly a different tone here, and the House will never fucking pass this through, but whatever. 31 states already require businesses to pay most workers above the federal $7.25, well above, by the way, including Missouri. That might be the reason why Hawley's behind the bill. Come January 1st, Missouri's minimum wage will rise to $15 an hour. He was unable to stop the state from doing it, so by making every other state compete, he won't lose traffic to states. So if you're going to move your business out because it's too expensive to work in Missouri, you're not going to move, and I don't know what Kansas's is, for example. Let's see. Shall we take a look at that? This might explain Kansas state minimum wage. Yeah, here's why. Minimum wage in Kansas is $7.25 an hour. That's why he's doing it. Yeah, $7.25. That's because if you have a business that's in Kansas City, Kansas, or Kansas City, Missouri, and it's just a matter of driving across the state line, all those fast food restaurants and shit that are on the Kansas City, Missouri side will move into the Kansas City, Kansas side. That's why. This is because his own state circumvented him. He's trying to keep that from basically flight. He's trying to stop the business flight from the state. So don't think he suddenly got a conscience. For the record, just letting you know, okay?
Still 20 states that have it at $7.25. Do you support the legislation or the idea?
Well, I haven't seen it. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a very good friend of mine. That's interesting that Josh did that. I'm going to have to think about that one. Some people.
By the way, the reason I gave you is exactly why. That's why he gives a shit. That's the only reason he gives a shit. That's the only reason Josh Hawley is doing this, is because he buttresses up against Kansas. Kansas is 725. The business will fly to Kansas, and people can just drive right across the border in a lot of these places because you have these tri-state and bi-state areas where a city is split between the two. You're going to see people move to the cheaper side of the tracks. That's it. It's the only reason he cares.
People agree with it. Some people don't. Some people say it really turns away business. Restaurants close, and a lot of things happen. Other people agree. I'd have to speak to Josh. He's a good guy.
Mr. President, for the Iran, the possibility of an Iran deal, is the destruction or the dismantling of the Fordow nuclear enrichment center, is that a prerequisite for a deal? Is that a red line for you?
No, it's just something that people talk about having. We're the
He has no idea what he's talking about.
only ones that have the capability to do it, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do it at all. We have the best military equipment in the world. You see that with this fight. We have planes that are undetectable, flying around like,
Yeah, even the pilots can't find them.
Nobody.
2 of our airplanes that fell off the aircraft carriers in the last couple of months, nobody can see them. They're because the ocean's so deep. But
he's able to see him stealth. You guys want to be stealthy tonight? You can be.
Oh my God, this is so fucking ham-handed. Why are you making these people stand here? Why wouldn't you just let this guy? I think they're gonna. He seems to think sometimes that if he brings in people that aren't involved in politics and make them stand there, that the reporters won't ask him tough questions because it's rude to the people that he's making stand there. Sorry, the world keeps turning, motherfucker.
You'll never lose, right? But
what if the ball's invisible? Then what?
These are incredible planes and weapons. We have the best weapons in the world, by far.
Yeah, nobody gives you didn't design them. People are concerned about the judgment.
Nobody close, and certain countries take advantage of that. Israel has incredible weaponry, so we'll see what happens. I've been asked about it by everybody, but I haven't made a decision.
Because you can't process it mentally?
You talked earlier today about having daily conversations with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah.
How have those
That's not true, by the way.
conversations weighed on you in terms of getting more involved? He's been lobbying for the U.S. to get more involved. Has that had an impact in kind of your evolution, sir?
Look, we talk, and I'd like to see everything done. I would have preferred having.
I'd like to see everything done as well. I hate when stuff is undercooked.
Just an agreement, a strong agreement, verifiable agreement. But it was such a shame. They were so close. Iran was very close to signing what would have been a very good agreement for
Apparently not.
them. And maybe that could still happen, I guess. They do want to come and see us. They want to see me in the White House. That's a big statement. But
right. You gonna pat him down first?
It's very late.
Is it enough of a statement to hold off getting?
We're going to see what happens. Look, we're going to see what.
I think that's kind of true no matter who you are. I think we as the public are going to see what happens. Right? You are the president, unfortunately.
Happens. Ending it as soon as you can would be.
No. Ending it as soon as you can might be a nuclear bomb, dummy. That's not an answer. I hate that shit. We need to get this over with quickly. Nuh-uh. That's not an answer.
That would be good.
Have you closed the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your eyes.
They asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy.
We'll see if that happens. It's your decision, fuckwad.
Easy for them to come. They can't get out.
They can't get through airport security.
No, they're in Iran.
I think Is that right? Is that you think? You think the leaders of Iran are in Iran? Is that? I don't know. We're gonna have to check that.
And in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Yeah, it's so inconvenient.
Have you seen the?
Sorry, there's bombs dropping all over the place. Dude can't get out of the country. I don't know. Take a bus? There's a lot of traffic, but people seem to be getting out of there. Good Lord.
Tucker Carlson, Senator Ted Cruz interview. It seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My support.
My supporters are for me. Well, I guess then anybody who's not for you is no longer your supporter. Cool. Okay, explain that shit then. Good Lord.
Are America first. They make America great again. My support.
Also, other phrases and words that are programmed into the mainframe.
Don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day.
Oh, do you think that's... Yeah, did he? Do you think he meant it?
Because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong, and I appreciated that. And Ted...
I think he's getting him confused with Elon Musk.
Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But...
Yes, he's a weakling and always folds.
Very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. People that...
Yeah, it's about how you get there.
I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting.
Sure. I mean, we've been defending, which is a form of fighting, but...
We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear.
Sure. Thanks. I'm so glad we have somebody that can break down these issues into the simplest possible terms. They're so complex. You might have to fight if they don't dismantle their nukes willingly. If that's your goal, you're either going to have to get them to do it because they want to or because you make them. Really, you don't say.
And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker. I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran?
And he went, oh!
And he said,
no, of course not. Of course not. But Putin said, I have to tell you, or the check won't clear.
But he didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, and maybe it'll end very quickly.
Yes, and maybe it won't. Hashtag Iraq.
But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. I'm not going to let...
Yes, if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, they will blow up the whole world.
That happened.
Mr. President, you had a bit of a row with President Emmanuel Macron of France the other day at the G7,
No,
it sounded like.
he's a nice guy. Look, he said I was going back home to make a ceasefire. Not a ceasefire. We're long beyond ceasefire. And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not.
What? Who the fuck thinks that's what ceasefire means? Sorry, listen to this. This is Donald Trump's definition of the prerequisites for a ceasefire.
And I said, why do you say that? Why would you say ceasefire? It's a bad term to use. Because a ceasefire means like everything's going swimmingly, we'll take a little time off. It's not. We're not...
What the fuck? Who? All right, okay. Hey, this is mental illness. This is just... It couldn't be that he's just this bad a judge of reality. I'm kidding, it totally is.
Looking for a ceasefire. We're looking for a total, complete victory. Again, you know what the victory is.
No, I don't. No, how do you prove that they don't have nukes in the next 6 weeks? Or the next 2 weeks? Or the next 8 days? Or 24 hours, for that matter? So total victory means a bombing campaign. Good fuck. What the hell? Good Lord.
No nuclear weapon.
Right, but how do you prove it in a short order when this is actually happening? Shit.
Mr. President.
I started doing my Boston Brian hand thrust. That's how fucked up this is. Love you, Brian. He's doing a show right now. I'll kick over to him when I'm done.
So I thought it was a very badly worded statement by him, and obviously I let him know that.
On the southern border, you've had
Badly worded. And you let him know with a equally badly worded statement. Nice.
record low numbers for the month of May, 95 apprehensions, 0 releases, compared to
And yet there's still just as much fentanyl in the country. Qu'est-ce que fuck?
that of the previous administration exactly a year ago, more than 60,000 releases. What do you attribute that success to?
Me just being awesome.
I like you. Who are you with?
Turning Point USA.
Well, they're very good.
Turning Point USA. It's not even a news organization. It's Charlie Kirk's organization.
Turning Point, Charlie, very good. That's what I call a good question, fellas. 1 out of 10, John. 1 out of 10, but that's a really good question. No, we had...
How did you get so awesome? Who the fuck doesn't want that? Okay, deny, go away. Thank you.
record good numbers on the border. And people are
And yet the same amount of drugs in the country. Curious.
coming in, but they have to come in legally. Like some of these guys behind me, they have to come in legally. And if they come in legally, we want them. They have to say they love America, they love our country. And if they can't say that, we don't want them. Thank you very much. Very nice.
Thank you for making my evening so much better.
Thank you very much.
I'm so lonely. Okay, so that was that. And I'm over time. God damn it, there's so much shit to cover. Did this actually play? Hold
President Trump is planning to release a hidden $150 trillion trust fund back to the American people.
Gibberish.
Drinking
Something
warm
about
water
base
before bed fixes tooth and gum
ads
problems
around your
overnight.
thing, blah, blah, blah.
Israel, the Israeli government, are not victims. All right? I'm not celebrating what's happening here. Don't get me wrong.
I get you wrong.
War is stupid. But we're not going to play this boohoo, poor Israelis. When you struck Iran first, you provoked war. And now you're running over to us, asking us to help you. And our corrupt government is now sending our troops to fight your war.
Our troops were already over there, and then they pulled them back, and then they went back over, and they're not actually fighting their war. They're backing them up. But look, I don't even want to run interference for how full of shit you are, because you guys are eating each other's asses. It's totally fine.
While you rob us blind.
Ah, Jews. What are you gonna do? What the fuck kind of like weird boogie title that they throw on this shit?
Nick Fuentes said, and I found myself agreeing with what Iranian immigrants that don't like the Iranian mullahs were saying. I understand the Israeli perspective. And I see people saying, well, Israel started this, and Israel just attacked Iran. Well, Iran was just attacking them months ago, and then Israel was attacking them. So it goes back so far. How do you even say who? It's like a mafia war that goes on for decades, and
yeah, it's exactly like that, except it isn't.
Who really started it? And people can argue about that forever. It doesn't.
Perhaps we all need to get together, sit down. I'll meet the 5 families, so sit around the table, and I swallowed a bug.
Matter to me, it needs to end, and we need to pull our funding out of it, not be part of it. And Trump ran on peace and all of this, and overall has been doing a great job on Russia and other areas.
How? Oh, right. He solved the war with one phone call fucking 6 months ago. But face.
You'd say, well, don't give them missile defense. Well, then Israel gets hit harder. Then Netanyahu has a pretext to stay in power. And then, so it's a complex issue.
It is. And thank God we have mental midgets such as yourself here to fuck the whole thing into a cocked hat. Video. Tucker Carlson is right. President Trump is aiding and abetting is the title.
And
I didn't make this title, by the way. That's the title from them, from Alex Jones and whoever the fucking Fiverr crowd that he's hired to do this show.
I don't like the mullahs.
But they love you.
It is an Islamic dictatorship. It's very unpopular in their country. They literally execute women that try to not wear burqas.
Try not wear? That you mean don't wear burqas?
And so I will not endorse that.
I don't think they have executed anyone for trying not to wear it. I think they executed women who wouldn't.
At the same time,
I'm stupid.
CIA overthrew their government twice and put these people in.
No, they didn't.
They don't run the mullahs. They just said, oh, here, put this in there. Just like Israel created Hamas to wreck the peace process and radicalize everything.
Nope.
The Middle East in the 50s.
And Netanyahu tried to buy him off. It worked with the PA. He thought it would work with Hamas, and it didn't.
50s and 60s was 5% as radical as it is now. I mean, it was like bikinis, rock and roll, full bar. And I'm not saying it's a symbol of freedom, but I mean, they were like, America, we want it. Almost other than Saudi Arabia, which what British intelligence was, constantly using to take over their neighbors. It literally created Saudi Arabia. So I know all this. I mean,
British intelligence literally created Saudi Arabia. All right, okay.
A coalition of Turkey, NATO, and Israel just overthrew Assad 7 months ago and turned it over to the leader of Al-Qaeda. And CNN's like, well, he was Al-Qaeda, but now he's good. And then Trump's handed that, and then he's meeting with him, a few months ago. And
where'd the guy who was running Syria at the time, where did he flee to? Now, I know you're going to think, Hal, you're going to say that all roads lead back to Russia for Alex Jones, and they're always victims in this situation, and they played no part in any of this shit, and none of the stuff that he's accusing the CIA or MI6 or the fucking State Department or other stuff over the years have ever been in response to something that Russia was doing overtly or covertly in the Middle East. I know you're going to say it because it's true. Right?
Saudi Arabian capital.
What the fuck is Alex Jones's deal, Ray? Alex Jones's deal is he's never seen a Russian plan he doesn't like.
God. So I don't want to hear Netanyahu about how he's fighting Muslim extremists and for civilization.
Nobody's fighting for civilization because there would be just too much S on everyone's microphone.
But at the same time, I'm not going to just single out Netanyahu because that's not fair. This is long-term U.S. and British intelligence policy since 1953.
Yeah, who else was a factor since 1953 in all of this? Just curious. They were just doing it out just for the fuck of it? There wasn't Russia or China making moves in any of these areas? Hal, BP fucked us all, so you don't be so glib. No, I would argue that that's why I keep saying MI6 is responsible more for what was going on in Iran and not the United States.
And so,
he wants to equally blame everyone that ain't Russia or ain't China, always.
You can sit there and say, well, if we just didn't have the Likud over in Israel, this kind of stuff would stop. No, it's part of a larger strategy. And I'm certainly not defending Netanyahu. Netanyahu just survived a coalition collapse in the parliament, strikes deal with ultra-Orthodox partners. But the longer he can keep them in war, the longer he can stay in power. That's admitted. And the longer he can stop an investigation on October 7th, how Israel did stand down. You look at how incredibly competent Israel was with the pagers, taking out Hezbollah, and Hamas in Lebanon, in Gaza, in the West Bank.
All right. This is, we don't need to listen to any more of this because this is the same shit all the time. This is what you would call a gish gallop. The entirety of Alex Jones's show these days is a gish gallop. It is a mix of opinion, lies, genuine facts, all kind of thrown together with the assumption of authority, so that every time you hear something that literally happened, that was a detail in history, the next thing and the next thing must also be true, and they aren't. That's how this works, okay? And this is how people as much as he accuses the State Department, the CIA, the United States, everywhere else except Russia. Russia never does propaganda. China never does propaganda. The United States is the only one that does propaganda, and not even us. It's the fucking Illuminati through the United States because we don't get to pick our leaders except when we pick Trump. And apparently they were taking a fucking vacation when that happened, but now they're trying to control them because they got off vacation. It's just fucking stupid. So the entirety of this programming is a gish gallop, and you have to have 20% truth, details, whatever you want, mixed in with the stuff. So and it's paced out. This is a skill developed over time. You take a lie, and then you paste it with, or like a piece of truth. You do one lie, and then one piece of truth, and then two lies, and then one piece of truth, and then three lies, and then one piece of truth. And you grow that up, and you could probably stretch it to about 5 lies in a row. And as long as you keep throwing stuff together, the assumption is, well, that thing I heard was true, so the rest of it must be true because it's all together in the same fucking salad, right? And this is how they commandeer reality and manipulate it. This is what Alex Jones has been doing forever. If there's a key skill that he has, that, by the way, Rogan has not mastered yet, mainly because he smokes too much weed on his show, so he gets lost and different strains apparently make him paranoid or goofy, so he finally comes to his senses somewhere in the middle of this business. Whereas Alex Jones is a strategic manipulator. This is how you keep people on the string, because again, there is no situation in the world where Alex Jones is the only truth teller about the Illuminati and they haven't killed him yet. Right? It would, if what he says about the cabal that runs the world is anywhere near true, he'd have been dead a long time ago. So, if he isn't dead, there's only two options. One, it's all bullshit. He's been selling this stuff forever, and there is no cabal. It's just human frailty meets different groups that gain and lose, strength in certain issues, and he just hops fucking from ice flow to ice flow, trying to play whatever story so that his audience stays riveted to whatever's going on. And it's all bullshit. It's just sales. Or he works for them. Now, a bunch of his viewers thought for a long time that he works for Israel, or he's a Mossad agent or any of that shit. Never Russia or China, but always Mossad for some reason. They control the world, along with the, I guess, Jew cabal, pedophile network, Illuminati. They all kind of throw that together in their, the evil people that run the world, the Pentaverate idea. And so Alex, a lot of his followers that have drifted away or get mad at him, they always fall into that. Right? They always fall into I used to listen to him, but he started working for Mossad. He became an Israeli agent, or he works for, he's been co-opted, whatever. And I got news for you kids. Either everything he was saying has always been bullshit, or he has worked for them all along. Whoever the Illuminati is. There is no other circumstance, right? Either it's bullshit or he works for them. Because if they actually existed, which is the third option, he'd have been dead by now a long time ago. All right, got to let you guys go. I'm going to pass this over. I'm going to raid Boston Bryant because you guys are awesome. Give me 1 second and see if I can pop this in here real quick. And, and by the way, the other element, if I may, of this idiot, hold on 1 second. Let me just make sure that I'm not getting audio bleed over into this thing, that more than anything, Alex Jones is dumb.
Dumb, 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 bin dumb, 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 stupid, dumb, silly, stupid, dumb, dumb, dopey, dippy, dumb, dumb, stupid, really dumb.
Dumb, 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 dumb.
I don't want anybody to think that these guys can actively co-opt people's, genuine issues, things you give a shit about. I would argue I don't take these people seriously. Him, Tucker Carlson, any of these folks, I don't take them serious. I refuse to. You don't get to take things that I care about and like undermine them with your stupid fucking opinions and waste everybody's goddamn time. So, let's see. Is Brian? Oh, yeah, there he is. Good. We'll toss to Boston Brian in a second. So if I'm offended by anything else, it's not that these guys get the details right or the details wrong or any of that stuff. Is that they co-opt these things and make people think that they actually give a shit about them. They don't. This is all social movement. This is all just like it might as well be a religion. The Alex Jones world is religious. When they occasionally get people elected, it's just like when evangelicals get people elected, or somebody like Graham or Swaggart, try to get someone like Reagan or Trump elected. But most of the time, this is just a fucking social club. And they take things that are materially happening in the world and make it a pissing contest between who can use the best jargon. That happens on the extremes of both sides, and it's wrong when they do it every time. Because I want to make material change in this world. I don't want to just make sure that everybody uses the right language with me. Otherwise, you're fucking you're shunt like M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, speaking of what's not ridiculous, our dear friend Boston Brian, we're going to send a raid over his way. Please tell him I said hello, and we send our love. And then everybody after that, maybe when he's done, you can hop over to Liberal Dan or one of our other fellow performers on our side who takes the hideous news of the day and makes it palatable, fun, and motivating. All right. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and I'll see you guys later on.
If there's anything I can do, please let me know. I'm very sorry about that.
You don't have to apologize. Raid on Boston Brian. There we go. I think have we successfully raided? I think we did. Hold on. To make sure. Did it do it? I think so. It's hard for me to tell because I have so many things on my screen. We did a successful raid, yes? Okay, did it go through there? Yeah? Yay. Okay, much love. See you guys later. I've got to hit my own music on this one because I didn't make a full screen, so I'll fix that later.
Don't be shy. Subscribe now or blink and cry.